Hello friends, and welcome. My name's Popeye, and today we're playing some more Steins Gate Zero. Before we get into it, this game is not for everyone. Here are some trigger warnings. If any of these make you uncomfortable, or at any point in time you feel uncomfortable by the content of this game, please by all means find some place that will make you feel more comfortable today. This game includes themes such as death, murder, rape, kidnapping, torture, death, dismemberment, blood, gore, any of those things against a minor. If you missed any of those that I just said, you can either ask or you can look down below where I have a list of all of those. What is the rating on this game? I believe it's rated 18, I think. If it's not, it's rated... And this gets a little weird, because I know ratings don't quite match up. If it's not rated like R18+, it's at least rated teen, but I think it's rated 18+. And that doesn't always translate into other countries or continents. I think even between Canada and America, there's some like minute differences. But hello, Samuses. Welcome. Before we get into the game, I have one announcement, which was there is no stream next Wednesday. That's a week from today on the, what would that be, the 25th? I'll be taking a small vacation. There should still be a stream on this Saturday and 1 week from this Saturday, and I will let you know if any of that changes. You want a refund? I mean, just don't give me money those days. Well, don't give me money any day, first of all. Don't do it. And just don't give me money those days as well. So yeah, what happened last time? We started with a shower scene, which ended up being an action sequence. If you've already given me money, then I guess you just have to get your money's worth from this stream. And the other streams I'll have. And serves you right for giving me money. That sounds like a you problem. So we started with the shower scene with Suzuha. As she's finishing up, she realizes something's wrong. All the lights are out. And she goes snooping around the house and finds that the woman in leather with the bike helmet is there. She grabs one of her secret guns, which apparently she just, like, hid all around the apartment in several locations. Holds up the person at gunpoint. It's revealed that Suzuha has learned that they are Kagari. She goes to do a warning shot, and as she does, realizes that all of her bullets have been replaced with blanks. And then Kagari strikes. They have a tussle. Suzuha almost gets stabbed in the stomach and almost dies. Then Daru comes in and gets held up at knife point. And yeah, eventually Kagari leaves. And Kagari was there because she wanted the little green Upa keychain thing that she had lost. Dang it, hero! I think you're several days behind. How are you doing? We're just summarizing what happened last time. So after that, there was some filler stuff where we talked with Maho because we hadn't talked to her yet, and we had just found out from the professor that she was back. Talked with her. Eventually, we had a time where she really wanted to know about what happened with Christina, if there was a time machine, what happened. And we tell her absolutely everything, except for the fact that we killed her. And it turns out she had been brainwashed, and then she goes on like a mad spree where she knocks us unconscious. And we wake up in this room, which, from one of the other bad endings you might recall, is the room where they tried to brainwash Kagari previously, and Dr. Reyes ended up wiping her own memories. So we're here. There's a bunch of of evil dudes. And of course, Dr. Leskinen, who is also evil, who's also part of the same organization Dr. Reyes was in. You hadn't clued in on that yet. So yeah, he's basically here to get all the time machine information out of us for America. Because America. We're still on the bad ending. Yep. I think we're pretty close. I mean, we're currently kidnapped and tied up in a basement with the evil guy who's just in the middle of his, like, monologue. And yeah, I think that about covers it. So yeah, let's get into it. And yeah, I stopped on the screen to remind everyone that we hate and fear this man. I think we're pretty close. 20 hours later. I know that feeling, Samses. I know that feeling. This is why I don't do the promise of, we're gonna finish this game today. Because every time I felt like, we might finish this game today, one of the following has happened. We were still like 3 episodes away from finishing it. My internet dies. I have to leave for some reason. So we've had actually a bad streak with finishing games. I couldn't believe this was the same man I'd respected so much. Oh, and of course, all the people in that one hospital, including our friend, who have the... can't remember what the big brain disease, whatever they call that in this game. They're all just, they're not there to help them, they're there to study them. Yes, or I finish it in 5 minutes and have to... That one was the internet died, because I thought for sure we were going to finish it. Our character's lying on the sidewalk with... having just fallen off the roof of a building. Their, like, head just bleeding out on the sidewalk, and of course my internet decides to die. And there was like 10 minutes left of that game.
それをタイムマシーンとセットで売れば世界の軍事バランスは完全に保たれる。戦争も
Oh yeah, so the gist of his thing, so he's with Stratofor, same as Dr. Reyes was. His whole thing is, hey, time machines can be used for evil, but if we sell it to every country, then they're all equally evil and nothing bad can happen, right? I'm sure nothing bad will happen at all.
君にもぜひ協力してほしい。
You just came to say hi in the middle of packing? Well, hello, hero, and have a good packing. I have to do some packing next week, so I feel that. Leskinen's mannerisms hadn't changed a bit, even as he spoke of these horrifying things. He spoke of these insane things in the same manner that Maha once described as like a mischievous child's. Oh, and for reference, we can't access our phone. But apparently we can just, like, turn our head 180 degrees and see this other side of the room.
騙していたつもりはないよ。君と最初に会ったのは偶然だ。エムディオスのテスターを頼んだのは、君がクレスの友人だからというのが大きかったがね。ただ君のことを教えるうちに純粋に興味を持ったのは本当だ。今でも思っているよ。私の下で研究員になってくれたら嬉しいとね。だが、それとこれとは別の話なんだ。さっき言っただろう。君は今この時点で合衆国大統領に匹敵するレベルの重要人物だと。私個人の考え
What is this? This is 2011. So that's Obama. We're as valuable as Obama. I think I have the time frame right.
未来の人類の平和のために。残念だ、リンタロウ。そして楽しみでもある。君の持つ情報の全貌を私は早く知りたくてうずうずしているよ。地獄に落ちろ。 これから君の記憶データを取らせてもらう。君の記憶をアメデウスシステムとして使わせてもらうんだ。面白いアイデアだろ？そうすれば、君が不良の事故で死んでも、君の
Unfortunate.
記憶は残る。ああ、心配しなくてもいい。元より殺すつもりなどないよ。人間というのはエムデウスよりもセキュリティが甘いんだ。苦痛を味わうと、それから逃れるために簡単に情報を漏らす。秘密保持のセキュリティなどないに等しい。拷問が通用しないエムデウスより生身の君の相手をする。
You can't torture an AI? I never would have thought.
記憶データを取るのはバックアップだと思ってくれたまえ。例えば、君が拷問に耐えきれず、精神崩壊を起こしてしまったとしても、近い将来、記憶データを君の脳にダウンロードして回復させることもできるからね。君も私の講演に参加していたから知っているだろう。まず記憶データの取得。その後で君自身からいろいろなことを教えてもらう予定だ。忙しくなるぞ。さあ、リラックスして。そうでないとデータを正常に取得できないからね。
So why would we want to relax?
そんな顔をしても誰も助けには来ない。ここは我々ストラッフォーが管理する場所だからね。我々以外には誰も知らない。誰もだ。
I was too stunned to think. There was nowhere to run. My knees shook in terror as I imagined what was about to happen to me. Maybe it would have been better to die. And then I felt sick as I remembered that I was fated not to die until 2025. If no amount of torture could kill me, this was literally hell. And now we're depressed Maho. Her head hurt. Why does this sound like an actual indie horror game now? I feel like I'm playing Silent Hill and enemies are nearby. Maho knelt down, closed her eyes, and bit her lips to shut out the pain. There was an annoying noise in her head that wouldn't go away. It made the headache worse. No matter how much she covered her ears, she couldn't block it out. She wanted to scream from the pain, but she held it in because she thought it would only make her headache worse. She could hear a voice mixed in with the noise. It was Dr. Leskinen's.
警戒魔法。君はどんな手段を使ってでもリンタロウ・オカベが抱えている秘密を暴くんだ。でないと彼を殺さなくてはいけなくなる。そんなのは嫌だろ？
That threat doesn't even make sense. He has information that we want, and if you can't get that information from him, I will kill him.
君もリンタロウのことを随分と気にかけていたじゃないか。散々私やクリスが煽ったからね。君にその気などなくてもついつい意識してしまうものさ。それが人の心理だ。彼を助ける意味でも彼の持つ情報を引き出してほしい。そうしたら私はリンタロウを我が研究室に無条件で迎え入れてあげてもいい。
Yeah, they'll bring us to the lab unconditionally, but once we're there, he will torture us.
彼の未来は君の手にかかっていると言ってもいい。
The voice and the noise were extremely unpleasant. Couldn't really understand what the voice was saying. She could hear him speaking, but her brain refused to understand the meaning of the words. But it didn't matter either way. Maho had done something terrible to Okabe Rintaro. She'd sold him out to Dr. Leskinen in Stratfor. The fact that she knew it just made her guilt worse. She wanted to disappear from the world altogether.
Maho-san?
She was on a busy street in Akihabara in early summer. She was leaning on the side of a building. In the shade, she heard someone call her name.
やっぱり真帆さんだ。まゆりさん。
She didn't expect to see Mayuri here, so she didn't know how to respond. She just looked back and stared.
具合悪いんですか？大丈夫よ。オカリンを見ませんでしたか？え。
Maho went completely still. Mayuri's innocent question reminded her of her own stupidity and cowardice.
どうして？
Her voice was shaking.
オカリン、昨日から連絡つかなくて、お家にも帰ってないし、電話も出ないし、メールや LINE にも返事来ないんです。ダル君は心配しすぎだって言うんだけど、なんだか胸騒ぎがするのです。だから今日は学校を早退してこの辺りをずっと探してました。
It was still only July, but it was pretty hot. She'd been wandering around all of Akihabara in this heat. Mayuri Shina was a kind, pure-hearted girl. That was the impression that Maho had. She would never betray someone, or get jealous, or let someone use her.
知りたい？え？
Mayuri leaned forward.
真帆さん、オカリンのこと何か知ってるんですか？もし知ってるなら教えてください。お願いします。
She bowed deeply. So deeply she went off screen. And then she realized, and then she wished she hadn't. Mayuri was in love with Rintaro Okabe. A dull pain ran down her temples.
君もリンタロウのことを随分と気にかけていたじゃないか。
Thanks, creepy voice on the TV. She could hear the noise in her head. Just tell Mayuri everything, and then have this innocent girl tell you how horrible you are. Maybe you'll feel better then. The idea raced through Maho's mind. Even as she knew it was wrong, she tried to hold back her headache as she opened her mouth.
ゆうべ、深夜、岡部さんと一緒だったの。そうなんですか。それでオカリンは今どこに？
Maho ignored her question.
岡部さんは昨日、私にこんな話をしてくれたわ。
No.
彼が経験してきた別の世界において、椎名真由里さん、あなたは何度も死んだんですって。え？
Don't tell her.
何度やっても助けられず、あなたは死に続けた。
You can't tell her this.
その悪夢のようなループから抜け出すために、あなたを救うために。
I'm gonna move my head over here just because I don't think we're getting our cell phone anytime soon. There's like another person was speaking using Maho's mouth. And of course, the second I do, it cuts off text on either side, so it didn't make a difference.
クリスのことを犠牲にしたんだって。見殺しにしたんだって。そんな話をしてくれた。タイムマシンを作り、クリスをもう一度救おうとすれば、またあの頃に逆戻りしてしまう。
You're hurting her. But the words didn't stop.
岡部さんはそのことをひどく恐れている。あなたを必死で守ろうとしている。ここはあなたを守るために他の多くのものを犠牲にして選択された世界なのよ。あなたは何も知らされていないだろうけど。そんなおかり。
Mayuri was too shocked to speak. She looked like she was about to cry at any instant. Suddenly, Mayuri turned around and started to walk away with slumped shoulders. Even from behind, Maho could tell she was having trouble walking straight. The truth was so cruel that confronting it threatened her very identity. That's how it seemed to Maho. Maho was still in a trance. It felt like there was a fog covering everything she saw. It was all out of focus, like a mirage. If someone told her it was a dream, she would easily believe it. The same was true of her own mind. She knew she should feel worse about what she just told Mayuri, but while she realized she'd hurt her, she felt no emotion. That was probably why she was able to say something so awful. And then the phone in her pocket began to vibrate. Gosh dang it, game. She looked and saw it was from Amadeus, from Krisu. Felt a small, thin needle prick her paralyzed heart. She couldn't answer it. How could she? She stared at the LCD screen, unable to move her fingers even a centimeter. She couldn't let Krisu see her like this. Even so, it felt wrong to just stay here. Maho decided to go after Mayuri. By the time she made it to the overpass, Mayuri was already gone. Since she was right in front of the station, there were many people around, and it would have been impossible to find her.
なぜ私の前に現れたの。私に声なんてかけなければ傷つかずに済んだのに。私はもう以前の私ではなくなってしまったのよ。
She looked down over the station from the overpass and whispered to herself. Then she saw someone in a distinctive outfit approaching her. They were wearing a black motorcycle suit and black full-face helmet despite the heat. She thought it might have been a cosplayer, but instead of trying to take pictures, the people nearby were avoiding them. Given a closer look, the person appeared to be a woman. Even Maho could tell that she had incredible eyes. The woman walked under the overpass and vanished from Maho's view. And then she came up the stairs. And she came right toward Maho. Maho quickly looked away like the other pedestrians and tried to run away. Before she could, the woman in the motorcycle seat ran over and wordlessly grabbed her hand. There was a pain in her cheek. She was caught off guard and staggered to the ground. At first, she didn't know what had happened. She rubbed her aching cheeks, and only then did she realize that the woman in the motorcycle suit had slapped her. She could hear a muffled female voice from within the helmet. Her voice was very calm, which only terrified Maho more. Because she was wearing a helmet, Maho couldn't read her facial expression. Since the visor was lowered, she couldn't even see her eyes. There was no answer to her question. Instead, the woman looked up to the sky, as if she'd noticed something. Maho looked up too. For a moment, it seemed as if a black shadow crossed the windows of the building. She could hear a helicopter. It was close. How long had it been there? She hadn't noticed it at all. And then she felt the air around her change. The pedestrians were all looking toward the station in fear and shock. You could hear people saying things like, "What's that? Are they filming a TV show? Some kind of cosplay event?" If you can get a helicopter for your cosplay, you can do whatever you want. You got money, my friend. Something was going on at the station. Maho stood up and looked too.
何あれ
She found herself whispering the same thing as the others. There were 2 trucks painted a deep military green parked outside the station. Men were coming out of them dressed in camo and carrying weapons. First she thought it might have been the self-defense force, but the men weren't Japanese. It's hard to believe that what she was seeing was taking place in Japan. The men in camo disappeared into the alleyways as everyone watched from a safe distance. They were heading towards the radio building. Maho had heard from Rintaro yesterday that the time machine was there.
まさかストラト4
Or Russia, or perhaps another country's military? Were they here because Maho had told Leskinen what she'd learned from Rintaro? As soon as the thought crossed her mind, she was hit with another terrible headache. It was all her fault. Everything was her fault. Until a moment ago, everything had seemed so hazy. Now she felt crushed by overwhelming guilt. Okabe was right, and the Third World War was going to begin here in Akihabara. It would be because she gave the information he shared with her to Stratfor. She suddenly realized that the girl who threatened to kill her had run down the stairs and toward the station. Maho never did figure out who she was. Then her phone started to vibrate again. It's from Krisu. She wanted to get away from the guilt, and so this time she picked up the phone.
先輩クリス大丈夫ですか何が一体どうしちゃったんですかどうもしないわだって泣いてるじゃないですか
Only then did she realize that her eyes were overflowing with tears. The fog over her mind was now totally gone, and all that was left was the guilt, the regret, and the headache.
頭が痛いの
彼の未来は君の手にかかっていると言ってもいい。
She heard the noise again.
岡部をどうしたんです岡部さんのことなんてどうでもいいでしょ殺そうとしてたじゃないですか私見たんですよ私のことは放っておいてそういうわけにはいきません放っておいてよあなたには勝てなかった私はどれだけやってもクリスにかなわないねえクリス私はあなたのことを尊敬している私より年下だけど大した科学者だと思うわでも心の底ではこう思ってたのよどうして私の前に現れたのどうしてあと10年先に現れてくれなかったのどうしてあと10年後に現れてくれなかったのあなたがいなければ私はもっと平凡な日々を送っていたはずなのにこんな醜い感情になんか支配されずに済んだのにって私はあなたに常識を破壊されっぱなしなの死んでまであなたの存在が私につきまとうのあなたの死を心から悼みたいのにそれができない越えられない壁としてあなたが立ちはだかり続けていてプライドと意地が邪魔をしてしまうのそんなところにつけ込まれて私は一番信頼していた人にまで裏切られて私を信頼してくれた友達を裏切ってしまったもう 私頭がぐちゃぐちゃよ。だから放っておいてよ。先輩。
She was getting far too emotional. Normally she'd never behave like this, but she couldn't stop herself. No one's gonna comment on the war going on in the background? Took you a hot second to there's an explosion in the background. And you're like... She heard an explosion in the distance. The people around her started to scream, panic, and run. The flames from the explosion were coming from the direction the men in camo had gone. Did they do it? The helicopter sounds were getting louder. Glimpses of their dark, agile bodies flashed in and out of Maho's vision for a little while now. And then she started to hear loud gunfire. There was more than one or two people shooting. There was a battle going on between many people, taking place here in front of Akihabara Station. It was like the beginning of a war. What Rintaro said was true. Suzuha Amane might be near the time machine. He might be caught up in the battle. Hooray for food! She wondered about the woman in the motorcycle suit, too. She started to stagger forward. She still didn't know what she was planning, but she needed to take responsibility for what she'd done. The elevators in the radio building were broken. Maho had no choice but to take the stairs to the roof. Maybe the power had been cut because the lights were off on every floor. She could hear sporadic sounds of gunfire coming from the floors above. Strangely, nobody came running past her to escape. There were several shops in the building, and of course, there should have been customers there. But despite the fact that the elevators weren't working, had they all evacuated earlier? Were they hiding somewhere, waiting for the terror to end? That was what she thought about as she sweated her way up the stairs. Just before she reached the roof, she saw someone for the first time. She was sitting on the stairs, cradling her knees. For some reason, her voice was muffled, but it did seem to be a woman's voice. Her head seemed big and round in the darkness. It was a moment before she realized that was a full-face helmet. That was when she realized it was the woman in the motorcycle suit from before. She seemed like a totally different person than the woman she'd met before. All she did was sob and cry for her mother. She shouted louder, and only then did the woman realize she was there. She didn't even stand up. Time machine was destroyed? Of course, like you should know my parents. Maho's blood ran cold when she heard the name Mayuri. That was true. She would have come here after she learned the truth from Maho. Of course. Everyone just knows everyone else's parents, right? Maho put her hands to her head. The woman in the motorcycle suit stood up and approached her, menacingly. What is this motorcycle helmet made out of? Why do you sound like you're 10 million feet away from me? The girl grabbed her by the collar and lifted her off the ground. There wasn't anything she could say. When she didn't answer, the woman let go and fell to the ground, crying. Things would be so much easier if she just killed me here. Her mind was in such chaos that she couldn't stop herself from thinking it. She couldn't stay calm at all, and the last thing she clung to was...
Chris. Senpai.
AI made from Chris Makise's memory data. Maybe she was still thinking about their last discussion, because she seemed upset. She wasn't saying anything, so Maho gave up the last of her pride.
クリス、どうしたらいい？いろいろなことが起こりすぎて、私一人じゃもうどうにもできない。自分のしてしまったことなんだから、せめて責任を取りたいの。
Just remember, this is the exact same location Akabe spoke to Krisu before, finally changing the world line ending in Krisu's death. Very true, very astute. And then she realized that she was still being proud and corrected herself. She asked herself, what do I want to do? And we have a very similar situation where we want to save two people. And probably one of them is gonna die. Or both of them. Probably both.
クリス、あなたのことも助けたいの。だから力を貸してお願いよ。先輩が私に助言を求めるなんて。
Krisu's eyes were wide. That's right, her pride had kept her from ever asking Krisu for help before. It was the same with Krisu too. Knowing Krisu's personality, if Maho asked for help, she'd use every bit of her brain power she had to give it.
ねえ、教えてちょうだい。あなたなら解決策を提示できるでしょう。
That's why they said Krisu Makise was a genius. She was a woman who made the impossible possible. Maho waited for Krisu's answer. The last hope, the last thing left in Pandora's box. She waited for Krisu to give her the answer. But... Maho was struck dumb for a moment. Then she realized how selfish she was being and hated herself for it. She'd expected too much of Krisu and tried to put all the burden on her. Just a few moments ago, she'd been the one who rejected Krisu.
そうよね。その答えは当然だわ。ごめんね、クリス。私、あなたにひどいことを言ったのに、あなたが無条件で協力してくれると勝手に思い込んで。無条件には協力します。今なんて。先輩に頼まれたら断ることなんてできませんよ。岡部や椎名真由里さんのことを助けたいのも同じ気持ちです。でもじゃあ気持ちとしては協力したいんですが、残念ながら私が協力することで先輩が不利な状況に追い込まれます。私はストラト4に常にモニタリングされてるんです。常に？ええ、私が誰かとこうして対話をしている間、ストラト4に無条件で情報が送信されてしまう。アマデウスのアプリにはそういう隠し機能があるんです。
Even Maho hadn't known that existed.
だから先輩が岡部を助けに行こうと思ってもレスキネン教授に筒抜けになってしまうんです。じゃあどうすれば。でも逆に
して手を打てます。先輩、私を信頼してくれますか？先輩。
あなただけが頼りを。
ありがとうございます。ちなみにこの対話内容もバッチリ盗み聞きされてるはずです。
そんな。じゃあもしあなたが私に協力するのがバレたら。
パターンとしては3つ。サーバーからデータを移動させて隔離状態にされるか、または古いバージョンの記憶データで上書きされてしまうか、最悪の場合には私という存在そのものを消されるかもしれませんね。
そんな。
大丈夫です。あなたは必ず自分で立ち上がれる人だから。
私のことなんかどうでもいいわ。あなたの心配をしているのよ。
私はただのデータですよ。でも。
Hello, Avier. How's it going? Thank you for the hydrate. Yes, we are still in the bad ending. Crystal on the screen bowed and smiled. So currently Okabe's captured and being tortured in a basement, and there's a war happening on the floor above us.
何よ、その根性の別れみたいな言い方。やめなさいよ。
もう会えないかもしれませんから。
私はあなたのことが嫌いよ。そうやっていつだって私を置いて先に行ってしまうのだから。
That's who Chrisu Makise was. When Maho asked her for help, Lachine Chrisu should have been prepared. 90% of this game is bad ending. Yeah, true. That's why.
いつか必ず
The other 10% is Daru.
追いついてやるわ。
I wish the other 10% was not Daru.
追い越してやるから。それまで待ってなさい。
はい。
Chrissy smiled once more and disappeared from the screen. Maho wiped away her tears and thwapped the crying girl next to her on the helmet.
いつまで泣いているの？あなたはまゆりさんを助けたいんでしょ。だったら私に協力して。
So, you guys might not recognize this, but they just suddenly switched the music to the music of the opening menu of this game.
まず岡部さんを助ける。
Usually I don't boot on the menu for this game. Actually, for most games I don't do
今
that.
の事態を何とかする方法を提示してくれるはず。
So this is a new song to juggle to? We probably haven't encountered this song before. How have I been lately? I've been alright. This week's been a lot of long days for work. We're in the hiring process, so I've been on a bunch of interviews as well as just work being work. And then over this past weekend, I injured one of my feet, so I've been taking it easy on that. And then I got stung on that same foot by a dick wasp. So that was fun. But overall, I mean, I'm all right. Yeah, today was the first day my foot's starting to feel better. The wasp sting, I'd been stung before. This one hurt less. I guess more of the issue is I'm allergic to bug bites and stings, so it had been a long time, so I took like some Benadryl just in case. We didn't think it would be an issue. Like at worst, like I don't know, my toe swells up and I can't bend it, whatever. But yeah, I was just super sleepy. Your girlfriend's been interviewing too. She got laid off a month ago. I hope she finds something. I know it's hard right now. My brother, he worked as part of the local school, as like a crossing guard for them, and just because of COVID and stuff, he wasn't able to do that. So yeah, so he's, at least where I am, schools have been out since about end of February, so he's been out of work since March, and I know it's been tough for him looking for it. So yeah, I kind of know what it's like, and yeah. All best wishes to your girlfriend, because my brother's been going through the same thing. You're having little luck with one of your projects. Is that the one you were talking about, Samus's, where you were working on it for like a bit today and you felt like you got stuck after 10 minutes? You're hopping the border? Not 10 minutes, 10 lines of code, right? 10. I knew there was a 10 in there somewhere. Yeah, hopping the border, because that opened up... Was that on Monday? I think that was just this past Monday. Maybe it was 2 Mondays? I don't know. I knew the date at one point, because my fiance, she has family in New York, and they're coming up... they're coming up on Sunday. Maho grabbed the girl by the hand and helped her up, then raced down the stairs. Yeah, everyone in her family coming up is vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, everyone in my household is fully vaccinated. Everyone in her household is fully vaccinated. I have one family member who is holding out. I won't get into that. You downloaded the Canada app? What I know about the people coming over the border is you have to be fully vaccinated. They may ask you to do a test. A lot of places now are doing the I don't know what they're called, like the fast result tests that take like 15 minutes. Especially at a lot of places, you need to test within 72 hours. There you go. Yeah, because she had another family member who came up, I think this was near the start of August, and basically the options were either you quarantine for 2 weeks or you do the test. So she had to book time for the test, so she had to quarantine for, I think it was like 3 days before she was able to do it. Yeah, I have a friend who has that, where they offer tests daily for anyone who wants it. And I know my friend, he's done it, I think, at least once a week. Do you need to start banning people? I haven't had the test, I've only had the shots. I don't like needles. Sure, I also wouldn't like something being shoved up my nose. My parents get the tests, I think it's every 2 weeks. Because my grandfather's in like a retirement community, and they're his caregivers. So to be able to go in, they have to do a test every 2 weeks to go and see him. And they've been doing the quick tests, so that's been better for them. And it's less supervision, because you only need like the one nurse at the end, basically just like looking at the test, making sure you did it right and that you passed. Whereas before you had to have a bunch of people doing all the testing for everyone. I can imagine, yeah. Yeah. Anything like up the nose or the back of the throat, just not a fun time. She told me to believe in her. Krista McKeesey wouldn't betray me. As soon as she left the radio building, she got a message on her Rhine. The gunfire was continuing as she hurried away. She looked down at her phone. Yeah, 'cause there's two kinds of tests that I know, and there's like the back of the throat, which I would probably gag. There's both nostrils, and then there's the quick ones, which is you can do it yourself up both nostrils. But yeah, I'm also curious which is do you have that's the less comfortable one. Okabe's in the basement of Tokyo Denkai. I just learned this now. I followed their monitoring to find their location. Take care of Okabe for me. Teach that damn pervert of a professor what happens to peeping toms who watch me all the time. When she read it, she smiled despite everything that was going on. I'd believe it. It's still... Oh, you don't have to go as far back. Yeah. I'd also heard that there were different types of tests where one of them you did both nostrils and the other one you just had to do one. I had heard the one that was a single nostril was weird because I had a friend and he, same thing, he was doing these tests fairly frequently, and this was back when they had the long haul tests that weren't like the 15 minutes. And he said there was someone at his work who they did both nostrils and they did it with 2 different Q-tip swab whatever things. And one came back positive and one came back negative, and that's terrifying to me. That you can have, like, you can only have the virus in one nostril, but it hasn't gone far enough back to reach, like, the middle nose. I don't know, that's just insane to me. Because could you imagine if you had a single nasal test and they just by happenstance put it in the wrong one and say you're negative when you're positive in the other nostril? She clutched the phone tightly to her chest, but then she quickly changed gears. Maho shivered at the ice in her words. She felt a bottomless madness coming from the woman in the motorcycle suit. But for now, she had to cooperate with her. There was no way she could get Rintaro back from Maho on her own? Okay, is this... I need to read this again to see if this is a mistake, or if I'm just reading it wrong. There was no way she'd get Rintaro back. No, that's a mistake. We're getting him back from ourselves. She needed to take responsibility for the future she'd created, to avoid that cruel future. Maho ran through the streets of Akihabara, where a war was already beginning. Thank you for the lurk, Samuses. Oh, we're back to being tortured. A voice. I could hear a voice. Someone was calling my name. I slowly woke up and turned toward the voice. Ma was standing in the darkness. She had a smile on her face that was somehow lonely and somehow sad. I don't know about you, that's no smile. What is this, like, weird dream future summary? Woke up on top of blankets laid out on the floor of a hospital. The rooms and even the halls outside were overflowing with wounded people. There weren't enough beds, so there were blankets placed on the floor. Where was I? I thought I was back to the otherworld line with the war, but I wasn't. According to the news on TV, there'd been a terror attack in Akihabara. A special forces group from another country had gone on a rampage, and it was like something out of a war. The incident had come to an end, and the mystery special forces unit disappeared. Many were dead or wounded after the battle. I didn't really remember how I got here. The last thing I remembered was being locked up and horribly tortured by Leskinen. My whole body ached, in fact.
それじゃあね、おかめさん。さよなら。
And then I remembered what Maho had said to me in that dream. Is that real? Maho had saved me? Had she mentioned Kagari? I patted down my pockets and found my phone was still there. I tried to call Mayuri. I also noticed that the Amadeus app is no longer there. If that dream was real, Mayuri was missing. That was impossible. I'd chosen this world line so that Mayuri would survive. If nothing else, it was guaranteed that she'd make it to 2036. She couldn't die today in 2011. But no matter how many times I called, she didn't pick up. I forced myself to stand up and leave the hospital room. I went out to the roof. It seemed I was at the Ochanomizu Hospital where Fubuki had stayed before. The morning sky was amazingly clear. I could see Akihabara in the far distance. There were pillars of smoke rising up. I shivered at the strange sight. Even from here I could tell how fierce the battle must have been. The world's history was proceeding as John Titor had prophesied. I tried calling Mayuri again from the roof, but nobody picked up. Next move was to call Daru out of desperation. No, we're desperate if we want to talk to Daru.
よかった。生きてた。お前こそよく無事だったな。ラボの近くは案外静かだったんで。今どこだ？逃亡中。秋葉からは脱出したよ。そうか。フェイリスタンとルカシとは連絡取れた。二人とも避難したってさ。なあオカリン。鈴葉とマユシが連絡つかないんだ。昨日の事件でタイムマシンも跡形もなく壊されちゃったし、鈴葉の語った未来よりも世界の動きがずっと早いよ。
So it wasn't a dream after all. Hello, Chaos. While I was unconscious, she'd said her goodbye.
誰？俺はさ、普通に生きることすら許されないのかな。
Screw off, fly.
こうなることは覚悟してたさ。シュタインズゲートではなく、第三次世界大戦が訪れる世界線を選んだのは俺なんだ。だからって俺が生き残ってみんないなくなるなんて、こんなのはあんまりだろう。
Were the laws of God never going to forgive me no matter what? Was it that much of a sin to escape the wheel of fate? If it was, then why not just curse me?
僕はタイムマシン作るよ。誰？作るしかないだろう。これで終わりにできるかよ。オカリンはどうする？
Smoke was still rising over Akihabara. I stared at it in shock.
俺
The tears welled up, fell to the ground. I didn't have the strength to stand up. I couldn't answer Daru's question. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you work to change things, everything converges back to the way God wants it. You're wasting your time struggling against it, Daru. I'm so tired. I need to sleep a little. There's still a few years before the Third World War really begins. There's 14 years before I die. I'll live my life averting my eyes from reality, not wasting my time with a fight that can't be won. That's the only end that's fitting for a person like me. I'm sorry, Maho. Sorry, Mayuri. Sorry, Krisu. All you're gonna be dead. Forgive me for giving up here. Hey! We finished the bad ending! Where we just give up on life and just wait until death takes us. And all of our friends are basically dead. And we get sad ending music now. But that means we only have one ending left. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. My guess is it's going to be longer than that bad ending just was. You know, the people in these credits... Yeah, we've got the good ending followed by the true ending. It's all in the same path. So after you get the good ending, the true ending follows immediately. We've seen these credits like 5 times. All these people get credited like 6 times throughout this game. But yeah, so we have to boot back the last save, and instead of answering the call from Amadeus, we ignore it when we're in Daru's like special workshop area. You're disappointed that didn't take 20 hours? That took about 6 hours of stream time, approximately. And probably there's a good wow, look at them, like, just, giving credit to all these real places that they've ripped off in this game. What was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah, like, I'm sure some of that 6 hours just us dicking around and talking about random crap, as one does on stream. I think if you tried really hard, like, most of these endings are only, like, 3 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. With the exception of the very first ending, which is still, like, 5 hours. It's ridiculous. But yeah, we completed Gehenna's Stigma. Oh yes, here, as I was saying, was that menu song that started playing. That was, to me at least, that was the cue that we're in the end stretch. But yeah, so we have to go and load game, and instead of loading this one, we're going to go back to this one and load this data. And this time we're going to ignore this phone call. So, I don't want to answer you. Maho looked troubled. I didn't want Krisu hearing this either. I didn't know what to do. And then I remembered. World line where I'd spent a month during wartime. I remember that the Amadeus Krisu was being used by the US military there. Well, geez, why didn't you remember this about 5 seconds ago instead of us having to do 6 hours of a bad ending? I still didn't know what that meant. I stared at my phone's screen. You need 4K more channel points? Well, Samus says now you need 5K more channel points. I assumed he wanted a phone juggle. Yeah. Instead, he's getting a phone stretch. I mean, you still get to just, I don't know, see my face as I do stuff on camera. to this ringtone. I think the Amadeus ringtone you can't change, only the regular phone ringtone for this game, which is weird to me considering we get far more phone calls from Amadeus. I can't actually remember the last time we had a phone call from someone else. Like, I'm pretty sure all our phone calls are from Amadeus at this point. Or it just like cuts like, I made a phone call. Here's what happened, but I'm not gonna actually make the phone call, and no one's gonna actually call me. So Samus says, I hope this is worth it. But yeah, I'm like Avier, there's a lot of channels where I just have a crap ton of channel points. Usually because either the stuff that they have, it's like, you know, just the default ones where it's like unlock an emote, highlight my message, like those kinds of stuff. It's like, it's okay. Is my foot in a cast? No, my foot is not in a cast. Yeah, there we go. So that's the foot. So I think it's called plantar fasciitis, I think, which is basically just the tendon at the bottom of the foot that goes between your heel and like your kind of big toe. It really hurts like right under the heel. Usually it means that you've injured it in some way. I can't pinpoint exactly where. I see the juggle. I can't pinpoint exactly like when I injured it. I just know I woke up last Friday and it was sore. And at first I was like, oh, like that's weird. I didn't expect that. And then it just didn't go away, and it still kind of hurts at times. But it's definitely so much better than it has been before. Yeah, I've never worn a cast. I've never broken any bones, at least any of mine. I've accidentally broken other people's bones. I guess I should say context to that, otherwise it just seems like I'm like a thug. So we had a family friend, and we were over at their house, and they had a little brother, and I don't know how old I was at this point, like 11, 12, something like that. So they had bunk beds in this room. Do I juggle better when I'm talking? I feel like I do. So they had bunk beds, and he was on top of the bunk bed, and his like older brother like basically just went, hey, catch, and threw him at me, and I didn't react in time, and he fell and hit the ground and fractured his arm. The only other time I know I've broken someone's bone was, finally dropped it, was during a game of pickup football, where it was just on a play I got pushed into someone else and like hit their thumb and like right back, and they fractured their thumb. To my knowledge, that's the only time I've, broken or fractured anyone's bones. There was a time when I was playing football in high school where they thought I may have broken a dude's leg. He did have to go to the hospital, but everything came back negative. But at the time, my coach was who was watching the play from the sideline, and like, I think we broke that guy's leg. That was a very heated game. There was 2 people who ended up going to the hospital. Okay. I hope that was worth it. I feel like you got way more than 2 minutes. Okay, so we got the stretch, we got the juggle. The stretched limb juggle. I am not a thug. Need more tests to confirm. How'd you confirm I'm a thug? What defines a thug?
でもびっくりしたよな。まさか真帆たんがオカリンと知り合いだったとはね。前にメイクインで鉢合わせした時はどうしようかと思ったっつうの。
We better get juggling after a stretch. We have 100% confirmation rate so far. Is that the one I missed? Where's your scold redemption? I will add it to the list. Open notepad. Scold redemption. I'm just training everyone to be a masochist.
すぐに合点が言ったけどね。マキセ・クリス氏っていう共通の友人がいたわけだから。でも真帆たん、オカリンにはこの件内緒にしとくって言ってたのに、結局打ち明けたん？
I'm just imagining how cursed a scold stretch would be. Where it's like me doing a stretch, but at the same point in time, like my fingers coming forward, and like, ah! Oh, can we scold Daru? Yeah, stop that, Daru. Just stop being a pervert.
見抜かれたという言い方が正解ね。
ああ、なるほどね。
Daru nodded and grabbed some snacks off the table to gobble down. I put the smartphone in my pocket, and we're officially in the final stretch of the game. For now, I need to focus on talking to Daru.
で、僕に話って？
とぼけるな。ヒアジョーさんと一緒にいるんだ。わかるだろ。クリスが残したノート PC とハードディスクだ。
This is it. This is the last stretch. There are no other branches. There's no other choices. It's just a straight shot from here to the finale.
岡部さんにはパスワードの答えが分かったの
Decided it was going to almost time out Avier.
答えなんて
Speed run.
どういうこと？
俺が言いたいのはただ一つだ。そのノート PC を解析しようなんて真似は今すぐやめろ。
Question, Samuses. Does Phoenix Wright have speed run? Is that a thing? Or does it not count because it's basically a visual novel, essentially. I think they actually call it a visual novel in the wiki page for it. Yeah, so Chaos, my phone actually requires periodic restarts. It would... I don't know why. I still don't know why it would do this, but it would reset itself around the time I went to bed. How? How are there Phoenix Wright speedruns? Are there glitches? Can you glitch through a case? Can you just, like, slip the judge, like, some money and just, like, get right to the not guilty verdict? But yeah, so my phone... Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I've got I was gonna say, I've got interaction. I can open my phone, and then I can't open my phone. So yeah, so I just have my phone set to restart at 10:30 p.m. each night, which I'm usually not doing anything on at that point in time. Like at worst, I'm maybe looking for someone to raid on the Saturday night stream, and I have Chrome open, so that solves that problem.
その PC の中には世界を混沌へ導くほどのとんでもないものが眠っている
Just automatically activate the touchscreen. Memorizing pixels, get all the evidence quick. I wonder if there's, like, things you can skip. Like, you know how sometimes you have to go to, like, A to B, and then, like, it opens a new area back in A? I wonder if there's glitches in it where, like, I don't know, you can essentially get to a conversation and evidence before you needed it. Because I assume how the programming works is, once you trigger the final conversation and get that final piece of evidence, is it takes you to the court case. And I wonder if it would just automatically give you all the evidence up until that point because you need it for the court case. Banner timeout of viewer.
おい、聞いてるのか？
中二病うつ。
あなたってそういう人だったのね。
違う。こっちは大真面目なんだ。法院虚魔とかそういうんじゃなくて。
中二病うつ。
That's 3 hours for every case, which is insanely impressive. Yeah, I like that last case is is like a solid. It probably took me like 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that by itself.
中二病じゃないんだって。
I slammed my hand down on the table. The shock was enough to cause one of the empty cans on the table to fall to the floor.
いいか、聞いてくれ。これは鈴葉とも関連している話だ。
鈴葉？
お前だって知ってるだろう。鈴葉の使命のことは。
詳しく。
Yeah, like there's a decent chunk of time.
中鉢論文だ。
That was enough for Daru to understand.
最初からマジだ。
そっか。ま、だいたいそんなところじゃないかって予想はしてたけど。
Daru didn't say another word. He opened a locked fire-resistant case that was sitting on one of the racks. There was a laptop and a hard drive hidden within.
それが。
The laptop was a deep red Japanese model with a 12-inch LCD screen. The hard drive was American, from a brand known for equipping its drives with a shock-resistant rubber case. The laptop and hard drive that Chris left behind.
確認だが、結局セキュリティは破れなかったんだよな。
まあ、僕たちの作ったソフトの前にはどんなハッカーもお手上げっつうことで。
もうこれ以上解析はするな。
一応依頼料をもらってるわけだが。
He looked apologetically towards Maho. She was glaring
さ
at
っ
me.
きも聞いたけど、あなたたちはクリスの事件について一体何を隠しているの？
真実を知ろうとすることが必ずしも正しいとは限らない。
それはあなたの考えよ。判断すべき情報も提示してくれないなんて。
危険なんだよ。君だってこの間襲われたんだ。それは分かってるはずだろ。
私はナイトの後ろに隠れているだけの臆病者になりたくないわ。科学者として真実にたどり着く努力をやめたくないのよ。
How recent is Rise from the Ashes?
どんな危険が潜んでいるとしてもね。
分からずやだな。
もし私がクリスだったとしても、多分そういうんじゃないかしら。違う？
I was startled. Maho was right. I remembered having the same conversation with Chrisu. It was when we were looking into CERN, I think.
これはもうちゃんと話すしかないって。
誰？
何をどう言っても納得しないって顔してるよ、マホタンは。
ええ、納得しないわ。
それに中途半端に関わってる方がかえって危ないんじゃね？オカリンの言うことがマジならだけどさ。
Dora had a point. At this rate, Maho could very well get herself in deep trouble without realizing what she'd done. Just the fact that she was carrying Chrissy's belongings made her a part of the Third World War, but she had no idea. That computer wasn't just something to remember an old friend by anymore. It was at the center of an international power struggle. Russian-speaking arsonists had forced their way into Chrissy's home in America. Yeah, I should be free after. Why? Afterward, mysterious men claiming to be the FBI had searched Dr. Leskinen's lab. The whole thing was on the verge of exploding. People like me were nothing in the face of a war between nations.
鈴葉に関連することも話すことになるぞ。
Yeah, I could probably play a couple
お前
rounds.
はそれでいいのか？
しょうがないっしょ。
I turned back
Yeah,
towards
Joseph.
Maho. For people who haven't been watching the Phasmo Trello board, there's an update that's scheduled to come out very soon in August, which will include, I think it's 1 new evidence type and 2 new ghost types. It's currently in testing. There's also another major update set to come out in probably end of September, early October. Yeah. And that has things like reworking the levels. It'll have a prestige mode when you get to a certain level. Items such as pills and lighters and stuff will now be consumable, but they'll also be upgradable, so you can upgrade your equipment to perform better. Has it updated recently? No. That was also another thing they were working on, is they were redoing the textures for every single piece of equipment, as well as some of the maps, which I think was going to help.
君は科学者だ。しかも極めて理性的な人だと俺は信じている。
But I'm expecting they'll have a fairly large update coming up for their 1-year anniversary. Oh, also, I saw on YouTube, there's some people who are talking to the developers, and there's also a leaked potential next map, which I'm excited about, because it is like a summer campground, which is interesting to me because it means the ghosts can come outside, and I'm excited for that.
感情に任せて迂闊なことはしないでくれ。軽率なことはしないでくれ。
Don't be like I once was.
突拍子もないことだ。馬鹿げていると思うかもしれない。けど事実なんだ。だから。
So yeah, the next beta release, I expect will come out, honestly, maybe the end of this week, the start of next week. It went into testing, I think it was Tuesday morning or Monday morning, one of those days.
回りくどい言い方はやめて。一体私に何を誓わせたいの？
マキセ・クリスを救おうなんて絶対に考えるな。
Her mouth hung open like she didn't understand what she just heard.
救う？
それが約束できないのなら話すつもりはない。どうする？
Hey, Amadeus is back on my phone.
救える可能性があるということ？
そう思えるかもしれないが、実際には可能性はゼロだということだ。
I mean, technically we're lying here. You can save her just at the cost of other people.
さっきも言ったでしょ。判断すべき情報も与えられていないのだから、安易に回答は出せない。教えて、すべてを。
I took a deep breath and began to tell her the story. I told her about the time machine, about Souza, about the Third World War, about the relationship between Krisu and Dr. Nakabachi, and what was supposedly Dr. Nakabachi's theory was actually based off of Krisu's writings. I told her that the original copy of Krisu's work might be hidden on her laptop or hard drive. I told her that Russia and America might be fighting over it. As for how Krisu died, I decided to skip that. I decided to skip being a murderer. Maho was silent the whole time I spoke, with a confused expression on her face. She looked like a girl who just graduated to middle school, who was staring at a string of equations on the blackboard that were like nothing she'd ever seen before. Her expression didn't change even when I finished.
それ、本当の話なの？作り話ではなく。
Maho was asking Daru, not me.
まあね。
やっぱり信じられないか？
別にそういうわけじゃないわ。 ただ私の予想とあまりにもかけ離れていたものだから思考が追いつかないの。
What were you
君
expecting?
の予想というの
Thank you for saying the exact words I just said.
アマデウスの軍事転用のことじゃないかと考えていたのよ。
No, I mean, they do that too.
実転用。
クリスは精神生理学研究所にもよく出入りしていたんだけど、時々場違いな連中がそこにやってくるって言ってたの。どうも国防総省の人じゃないかって。
Russia, the FBI, and now the United States Department of Defense was getting even more
ア
suspicious.
マデウスで人を殺せるのか。どうやって。
例えば百戦錬磨のパイロットから記憶データをコピーして無人戦闘機の制御に使うとか、あと以前話した医療への応用覚えてる？
人間の脳へ記憶データを書き戻すってやつかな。
そう、記憶データを修正した上で書き戻しが可能になれば、恐怖を感じない兵士やどんな非道な任務でも平然と遂行する部隊なんていう恐ろしいものまで作れてしまう。
うわ、まるでハリウッド映画じゃん。
Does this mean reality had caught up to books and
私はてっ
movies?
きりクリスがそういった実験の証拠を偶然知ってしまったんじゃないかと思っていたの。
だからクリスは狙われたと。
ええ。
Maho picked up the laptop. Its red body was evidently made out of some kind of magnesium alloy. It's a lot lighter than it looked.
でもまさかタイムマシンとはね。
いずれにしてもそれはすぐに破壊した方がいい。
中身を確認もせず、あなたが言う論文が入っているとは限らないわよ。
中身はもう関係ないんだよ。クリスが残した遺産がこの世に存在している。それだけで戦争の火種になりうるんだ。
He still didn't seem
でも
satisfied.
これはクリスが生きていたという証、クリスが残した意志なのよ。それをあっさり葬り去るなんて。
その中身を知ることで今度は君が狙われるかもしれない。
そうだけど。
This wasn't working. Maybe I need to try
そ
another
の PC の
approach.
パスワードクリスには当然聞いてみたんだろう。アマデウスだよ。
もちろん最初に試してみたわ。
でもダメだったんだな。
Maho nodded.
おかしいよな。普通は知っているはずだろう。でもアマデウスのクリスは知らなかった。それなら考えられる可能性は一つだ。クリス本人がアマデウスの知らないうちにパスワードを変更した。なぜ損したと思う？中身を知られたくなかったからじゃないのか。死者の墓を暴くような真似はやめような。
暴くなんてそんな言い方。ごめんなさい。確かに岡部さんの言う通りかもしれないわ。私クリスにこだわりすぎているのかもしれない。
君がクリスのことをとても大切に思っていることはよくわかるよ。だがこればかりは手を出さない方がいい。パンドラの箱どころか地獄の釜の蓋になりかねない。
中二病
いちいち茶化すな。
Maho hugged the laptop tight to her chest and sighed.
了解したわ、岡部さん。今起こっている事態そのものは理解した。まだ頭の整理はついてないけどね。このノート PC は破棄しましょう。
Dang it, hero! Don't do that. No subs.
ありがとう。
I was so glad she understood.
大した人だ
Oop.
君は。
何が？
普通こんな話は花から否定するか否定しないまでも全て
Are
疑
you
ってか
supposed
か
to
るか
raid with no...
どっちかだろ
Well, you see, part of my raid is you don't have to use the emotes. You don't even have to say what's in the raid message.
買いかぶりすぎよ。
Dang it, Samus's. And why does Nightbot need to be in on it?
いつもの私だったら否定どころか聞く耳すら持っていないわ。科学者っていうのはね、本来
Guys, we're not raiding yet. We got another hour and a half of gameplay. Unless we magically finish this game in the next hour and a half, which I seriously doubt.
自分の主義主張や常識に固執する傾向にあるから。
じゃあ今回はなぜ
そこにマキセ・クリスが関わっているからよ。
Maho's smile was bitter.
タイムトラベル理論？タイムリープマシン？冗談じゃないわ。そんなもの存在してたまるものですか？
You exist to shenanigans?
でもね、クリスならやりかねない。
And you exist to be
い
scolded.
つだって私の常識を破壊し尽くしてきたのはあの子なんだから。
そうか
That's right, her Amadeus login ID was Salieri. I almost said that, but stopped myself. Seemed to me like that ID held some kind of gloomy meaning to her as a scientist.
で依頼料はどうするん？実はマホタンにもらった分さ。
Gosh dang it,
エ
Daru.
ロゲ予約で使っちゃったんだよね。
No, Daru, go away.
最低だな
そのための裏バイトなんだっつう
But
の。
also, let's think about this for a sec. You are one of the, like, an expert hacker, and you're asked to break into, like, I don't know, like military grade encryption. You're probably making a sweet dime on that. How many thousands of dollars do you think that is? Now, this has only been something that's happened in, say, the last month and a half. And in that month and a half, he has spent like thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on hentai. That's a lot of hentai.
いいわ。お金を返してだなんて言いません。もともとダメ元で頼んだのだし。
言っとくけど、あと3日あればパスワード突き止めて解析完了してたから、これはガチ。
Okay, game. Totes serious. Slang means seriously or really. Thanks.
そういうことにしておくわ。
Maho smiled and turned back to me.
一応証拠は見せてほしいんだけれど。
証拠
どこかに置いてあるんでしょ？そのタイムマシン。それと鈴葉さんに一度話を聞きたいわ。
それはどうだろうな
Daru had agreed to it, but still I told Maho about the time machine without asking Suzuha. We'd just gotten into a fight, and I really didn't want to bring this up with her. Even showing Maho the time machine would mean I'd need to get Suzuha's permission, and that made it difficult.
ダル鈴葉に話を通すのはお前から
Before I could finish my sentence, the intercom on the desk beeped.
もう大事な話してんのになんだお。
His tone was the same as ever, but I didn't miss the sudden flash of tension across Daru's face. I've got a bad feeling about this.
なんかあったん？
Daru flipped through several channels on the security monitors and continued to talk on the phone. All 6 monitors had been displaying the interior of the store. Now they showed the entrance to the building, the emergency exit, the corridors, the elevator hall, and the emergency stairs. So we had cameras not just inside the building, but outside it too. This was no time to be impressed. The images were covered in white, snowy static. I mean, first of all, the store looks a lot nicer than they made it out to be. It looks just like an arts and hobbies and like crafting store. Second of all, that cameras are pretty good. I could see strange figures on the screen. The entrance to the building, the 1st floor elevator hall, the 7th floor elevator hall, the 7th floor emergency stairs, in front of the cosplay shop. There had been nothing there a moment ago, but now there were 4 men standing in each of those 5 places. They were silent and did not speak to one another. There were around 20 of them in all. Yes, 5 exits times 4 people per exit is 20. Some were wearing suits, others typical Akihabara fashions, yet others were wearing military camo. Individually, none of them would really stand out in Akihabara, but the fact that so many people had come to this lonely building at once seemed terrifying.
Okie dokie. ここは放置するわ。君も適当に逃げるといいよ。ほんじゃ。
Evidently, he'd been talking to the man at the front counter. He put down the intercom and looked at us. Daru pulled out a backpack and began tossing hard drives, memory cards, and other pieces of equipment into it. Maho stood there blinking as she handed him Chris's laptop and hard drive.
やっぱりクリスの PC が狙われているの？
さあ、どうかな。僕もいろいろやらかしてるからさ、こういうこと今までにもあったし。ま、だからこそ裏のバイトなわけで。おいおい。
Daru took the laptop and hard drive from Maho, threw them into the backpack, then slid it onto his back.
逃げるってどうやって？店の入り口には連中がいるんだぞ。
いや、この場所気に入ってたのにな。ついに放棄か。
Despite his tone, his expression was still serious. He walked to the corner of the room. There was a life-size poster of a golden-haired Vocalo stuck to the wall. I assume that's supposed to be a Vocaloid. Name of a DTM, desktop music software for home computer that allows for the creation of an artificial sing voice. Yeah, it's Vocaloid.
リンタン、ちょっとごめんよ。
Daru carefully took the poster off the wall, making sure not to damage it. There was a glass door hidden behind it, which led out to a concrete veranda. Wait, how was he going to escape? This was the 7th floor, right? There wasn't time to worry about it. Daru went out to the veranda without bothering to wait for us. I pushed Maho forward and urged her to go ahead of me. The veranda was filled with junk, just like the inside. The floor was covered with old PCs and monitors, as well as old arcade games that were clearly broken. There was barely any place to stand. That meant that as long as he ducked down a little, there was probably no way he could be seen from the outside. Maybe he'd set this up deliberately so he could use it in case of an emergency. From there, we escaped like we were in a spy movie. Oh, you're not going to show us? Lame. We removed the board that connected this veranda to the next one, moved down to the room at the edge of the building, and then used the emergency ladder to get to the 2nd floor. It was an empty space that Daru rented with some of his acquaintances. We were able to use the bathroom to escape to an unused room in the next building. My blood ran cold when Daru got a call from the men in front of the cosplay shop had broken in. From there, we planned to escape from the next building's emergency exit. The emergency exit there led out to a different alleyway than the one we'd originally come in, so in theory, they shouldn't have been able to find us. But we were naive. The narrow alleyway between the buildings was dark and deserted. They were waiting for us there, as if they known exactly where we were going. We were caught off guard, and before we could run, one of them grabbed Maho. And then there was no way for us to resist. They grabbed Daru and me, twisted our arms behind our backs, and slammed us to the ground. Come on, we really wanted to see Daru get slammed into the ground. But it wasn't the group who'd attacked us in the building. They were all wearing full face masks, motorcycle suits, and leather jackets. One of them, the girl holding down Maho, was clearly a woman. There was only one woman I knew who'd attack us while dressed like that. I was right, I knew that voice. I could tell even with her helmet hiding her face. She held Maho in her left arm and took out a military knife with her right. She put the knife up to Maho's throat. Don't do it. Take Daru instead, please. The horrible memories came flooding back to me. Whether it had happened in a different world line or not, the merciless voice that had taken my Yuri from me was right here. Moeka is still evil. I gritted my teeth so hard it hurt and glared at the woman in the motorcycle suit. I forced myself to speak, and the woman in the motorcycle suit took the knife away from Maho's neck. She handed her over to one of the other men. And then she took off her helmet. Moeka Kiryu, so it was you after all. Her eyes were completely devoid of emotion, just like they were on August 13th. I was forced off the ground by one of the others, but my arm was still twisted upwards. I tried as hard as I could not to scream from the pain. Moeka slightly nodded to the other men. The hand that was holding me drew back. I could finally move again. Daru was released too, and he stood up mumbling something. Maho was still stuck in their hands. Give her wrong laptop. Daru was about to take off his backpack. Maho looked like a small child on the verge of tears. Still glaring at Moeka, I took the laptop and hard drive out of the backpack. She didn't respond. Fine then. I'd have to bluff. I put the two items back in the backpack and handed it over to her. It's all I could do to keep my voice from quaking. Of course, I had no clue what the password was. If they found that out, we were doomed. Daru was giving me a questioning glance. I ignored it. Keep your damn mouth shut, Daru. Hello, Mel. Thank you for the raid. Can we get a shout out for Mel, aka Bumpy Horizon? Thank you, Samsus. I was watching you play Breath of the Wild earlier. I was kind of just lurking while I was doing some work. How was it? For all of the raiders, my name is Popeye. We're playing some Steins Gate Zero, and for all the raiders, this game has some mature themes, and I want to make sure that you all feel comfortable. If any of these things are not for you, please, by all means, find another stream or place to be that is more comfortable for you tonight. This game has themes of kidnapping, death, torture, dismemberment, rape, kidnapping, any of those things against a minor. Once again, if any of those things are not for you, or you missed what I just said, it's in the description down below. There's an area for trigger warnings. Please take a look there if you have any concerns. You saw me lurking. Yeah, I guess... yeah. How am I doing? I'm doing alright. It's definitely been a busy week. My work's hiring, so I've been on a bunch of interviews. I think I've been on 5 interviews in the past week. I've been found out. I lurk a lot of people. I try and have at least one person open basically 24/7, I would say, approximately. The avatars give people away. This is true. I was looking at the avatars. But yeah, it's been a busy week. I'm just also getting over I injured my left foot. I must have just strained a tendon or something in it. Also, it got stung by a wasp because the wasps are dicks. But it's doing better. Was Piccolo the default? I know I switched at one point because I was just looking through the other ones. I think I'm now off-brand Zelda, I think. Yeah, so story about the wasp. So, sitting outside with some family friends, just in the backyard, just so we're, a bit more distance, we have, like, a flower that, for whatever reason, bees love. But, like, bees are fine. Like, sometimes they just, like, fly at your face and you're just like, whatever, like, screw off, bee, and they go away. They're fine. Just a little bit annoying sometimes, but fine. And then we're moving our chairs out into, like, the lawn just because where the sun is, we just want to be in the shade, and grass is nicer than just, like stone under your feet. So I'm, like, stretching my feet out in the grass just at the edge of the patio. And suddenly there's, like, a prick on my foot, and I look down, and there's this wasp just next to it. I must have accidentally stepped on the wasp. Well, then I really stepped on it, so he died, because he was a little dick. But yeah, I had a good probably 1 centimeter diameter sting, and it started swelling up a bit, so yeah. Yeah, so I am allergic to bug bites and stings, so I had to watch it. I swell up a lot more than the average person, but it was fine. Like, there was no need to... See, I didn't step on it again. I took my mom's slipper and just smashed it into the pavement. I felt that was doing it justice. But yeah, so we're playing some Steins Gate 0, and we're actually finally on the last ending. We finished the bad ending earlier today, and we're in the final good ending. So, to give some people some context, we're playing, in this game, we're playing a guy who, he and his friends accidentally invent time travel, screw it up, people die, try to undo it, but can't. Eventually, he's just like, nah, like, I've done enough. This, I can't do it anymore. And one of the people who died, who came up with the time machine theory, she comes over from America, where she worked at the same university, and she's got the scientist laptop, which has all her theories on time travel, and basically all the world's governments are fighting for it, and we're trying to get away from them and destroy it. So we're at the point where we were basically just talking about it in a secret location. Some dudes came out, and we decided to try and leave, and we got caught in like the alley going down the fire escape, and this woman here wants the laptop and the hard drive, and has one of our friends hostage. So we're about to trade it for her, and we're bluffing that we know the password to it, and we'll give it to her once we're all safe, but we don't know the password. I'm disguised as a New Zealander. That meant...
それじゃ誰か一人私たちと来てもらう。二人は今すぐに解放する。その後パスワードが正しければ残り一人も解放する。
Damn, that's not good enough.
それはダメだ。残る一人の命の保証がない。
なら3人とも来てもらうだけ。
He was born in Canada? Okay. This woman. I could feel cold sweat on my back. I'd never been involved in a life or death deal before, and I had no idea what to do
明日
next.
至るこっちへ。
Oh, it's Dar. Yeah, take him. We don't care about Daru. It's fine.
僕？
あなたはスペシャリストだと聞いている。リュックを持ってこっちへ。
いや、
あなたが来るなら他の2人はここへ置いていってもいい。
待て。だったら俺が行く。それでいいだろう。
あなたのことは上から何も聞かされていない。パスワードを知っているかどうかもわからない。
Damn, she saw through me. Mocha put the knife back to Moeka's neck.
明日至る。早く来て。
そういうセリフはもっとエロいシチュの時にお願いしたいわけだが。
Daru, you're about to die. Stop talking about hentai, please. Daru was joking, but his whole body was shaking. What do I do? They were gonna kill Daru. I thought as fast and as hard as I could, but nothing came to me. In this world line, Daru was gonna live until 2036 and complete the time machine. That much was clear from Souza's testimony. The world lines are gonna converge. Even if Moeka took Daru here, he wouldn't be killed. Right? No, but that didn't mean I could leave him here. One of the men with Moeka was looking at his watch. She noticed it too. They might have felt they were taking too much time with the kidnapping done in broad daylight. I hope that somebody might wander by. There was no counting on that stroke of luck. If he's gonna die, why not do it in an erotic fashion? I needed to solve this myself instead of relying on others.
誰か殺してみせればいい。
I felt a cold knife pressed hard against my corroded artery. Corroded artery. There we go, got it right.
おかりん！
Daru and Maho were screaming, but suddenly it seemed unreal, like it was all taking place in a distant world. They say that's what happens whenever someone is confronted with their own death, and it was happening to me now. I can't die either way, right? I tried asking myself that. I tried asking Souza, even though she wasn't there. I tried asking the world. Of course, nobody answered. The fact that I might not die didn't mean I could do something stupid here. Normal college kid like me would be too scared to move once they had a knife to their neck. I'd seen people die many times, and I'd almost been killed, but I never did get used to it. Thoughts of Krisu's blood came back to my mind, and I almost suffered a flashback. My body shook, and it was all I could do for him collapsing to the ground. Was there nothing else I could do? Just when I was about to give up, a black van pulled up and braked hard at the end of the alley, blocking us in. The sliding door opened, out poured men carrying assault rifles. They're all wearing gray military uniforms and face masks. Their eyes were the eyes of... What do you mean trains? You see nothing. They have like welding masks on. From their huge frames and the color of their... Also, I see no skin. It was clear that they weren't Japanese. I immediately realized that this was all real. It wasn't cosplay or anything like that. Those guns were real, and a battle was about to begin. My experience with the August 13th attack, and the war zone I'd lived in until only a few days ago came back to me. Didn't matter who was friend or foe, Moeka moved the instant I spoke. She saw the attackers and jumped into the shadow of a nearby building. The other rounders spread out too. Maybe they're too tall? I mean, maybe they got that meat shower going on, you know? The Echo of Maho was standing up confused in the middle of the alley. So 1 meter 70. The man who was holding me was the only one who reacted a bit too slowly. No meat showers in the set. Oh gosh. There was a sharp noise and a bullet went through the helmet of the rounder who was holding a knife to my throat. As he went down, I went down with him and I hit the ground hard. The impact made me let go of Daru's backpack. One of the other rounders grabbed off the ground and ran the opposite direction of the van. See, the problem with considering someone tall is, to me, it's very dependent on how tall are you. If you are not tall... One sec. Okay, I think the phone's done ringing. So if you are short, your standard for tall is likely not not that tall. 1.7 is short for Japanese. Now, which kind of size are we talking about here? A man got out of the van, evidently the commander, and barked orders in what sounded like Russian. One of the soldiers turned their gun on the fleeing rounder. Oh. Her body flew up off the ground as both she and the backpack were torn open. The contents of the backpack fell to the ground, scattering across the asphalt. The laptop and hard drive were hit with more gunfire than could possibly have been necessary. Chris's laptop and hard disk were turned into unrecognizable scrap in just a few seconds. Hero has returned because wife. Here to make your cauldron? I think so, Chaos. Also, Japan often holds the record for the oldest men and women currently living. I crawled behind a light pole without even bothering to look. It really all happened in an instant. I looked around and the Russian soldiers were running towards us. Moeka and her rounders had vanished at some point, leaving only the two bodies. The soldiers silently recovered the remains of the laptop and hard disk, picked up the bodies of the two rounders, and got right back in their van. They didn't even pause to look at us. There were only a couple of minutes between the time when they arrived and when they left. Yeah, are you guys adding the fourth lady to your cauldron? All that were left were little fragments lying on the ground. The blood from two bodies. Maho, who was lying on the ground and shaking. Dara, who was standing in shock behind one of the buildings. And me, lying on the ground. I was trying to convert my height while we were talking about that, because I know my height in feet and inches. So I am... What would that be? 165. There we go. So for me, anyone who is... I would say 180 and higher is tall. Fake Canadian. I mean... You want me to be more Canadian? Yeah, because 180 is about 6 feet, and to me that's the cutoff with you are tall. My heart had been pounding the whole time. Can I lower that to 178 just for you? I only felt the pain in my neck after it was all over. Evidently the knife had cut me a little when I'd fallen. A while later, we finally heard the sirens of a police car. Only then I remembered that I was in Akihabara, Japan. The Third World War may have started long ago, and we just didn't know it. I realized that in the face of a war between nations, we truly were powerless. Remember, this is the good ending. People just got murdered. This is good. You're usually picky 185 plus. See, then my fiance is around 150, maybe like a couple centimeters shorter. Akihabara was in an uproar. There were lots of helicopters in the sky that probably belonged to the media. Cannibalism is good. Don't bring your other cauldron lady into this. She's about 5 feet. Like exactly 5 feet, maybe an inch shorter. We escaped the lab, making sure that no one was following us. Yeah, I'm 5'6". I do 30 centimeters to a foot. Is she my cauldron lady now? Is that how this works? Wait, you're stealing my fiance as well? Yeah, Mel, you'd probably that if you were 3 centimeters shy. We're stealing all of the women? So what I'm hearing is we want to put all women into one giant cauldron. And you also said cannibalism is good, so I'm getting mixed messages here. It hadn't been that long since we were attacked at the hotel, and if the cops found us at the scene of another crime like that, they'd be suspicious for sure. So we ran before the police arrived. Sherb is the leader of your cauldron? Don't you normally put the food in the cauldron, not the other way around? Suzuha wasn't at the lab. Maybe she'd sense what was going on outside. Went to check on the time machine. Did we send any messages to anyone? Geez, this is a long time ago, this message. It's a metaphorical cauldron. No, it's a real cauldron. It's like, I saw this the other day. It was like a Twitter thread. And it's like, you know how all like teenage girls just go through that phase where they just want to experiment in the dark arts. It's not a phase. You just got better at hiding it from all men. We held our breath and waited. Felt like if we let anyone know we were here, more scary people would burst down the door and charge in. Is Deadbeard the mayor? If he were the Powerpuff Girls? Oh, Automod loves you. Well, there we go. Thank you, Samuses. Chaos was almost traded for a Chinese burger. Why did I read a Chinese burger? A cheeseburger. I mean... Eh. To go with the meat shower? Please do not eat your Chinese burger in the meat shower. Maho nodded and brought a new towel from the washroom. She handed it to me. Thank you for the quote, Samuses. Please do not eat your Chinese burger with your meat shower. I'm thinking about the shower because that's not something I usually do. I think it might have been in... Do not eat your Chinese burger in the meat shower. Oh, so many quotes. Chaos specializes in circumcisions? That's wonderful. That's actually something I haven't done a lot of, and that's showers. If there's wired fi, you're fired fi. What quote number is that, Samus's? You guys are pulling out a lot of quotes. I can probably scroll up. Quote 108. Fix quote 108 in the mute shower. Okay, that's on my list of things to do. Here comes the shower water hydrate. That's the one. My neck was wet with blood. Fortunately, it wasn't a deep wound, so it wasn't long before it stopped. After handing me the towel, Maho sat down right on the floor and didn't move. I knew how she felt, especially since this was the second time she'd been attacked. And this time, people had died right in front of her. She nodded hesitantly, but her face was deathly pale. I realized she'd been clutching a left hand into a fist this whole time, and there was blood coming out of it. Evidently, she hadn't noticed she'd been hurt. She was looking at her left hand, confused. Maho had been holding some small fragment in her left hand. Her hand had frozen around it and wouldn't move. Soon it started to shake. I grabbed her hand and forced to open her fingers one by one. Whatever it was she'd been clutching so tightly that she'd cut off the blood flow to her fingers. They were very cold. When I'd finally forced her hand open, the thing she was holding fell to the floor. What was it? I picked it up. Oh. It was a red piece of magnesium alloy. It was a piece of Chrissy's laptop. She must have grabbed it off the ground when she was running away. She held something so sharp tightly for so long, of course she was going to bleed. I returned it to Maho without a word. She took the broken fragment and cradled it in her hands, then stared at it with an empty expression. Suddenly, a single line of tears dripped down her cheeks. I have a question for you, Candian Hero. Do you claim all the 2D waifus as well? After that, it didn't stop. She continued to sob. The 2D waifus? 2D, two-dimensional. Yes. Mod, wanna get that for me? Thank you, Chaos. Sure. You don't even want them. You're just like, we just don't want men to be happy. We'll take them, I guess. Bot lives matter. So the other day, Deadbeard sent me a picture, and it was a user list from the Zoo channel we had raided, and he just like put marks next to all the ones that were bots. My favorite one was the one that didn't have a line next to it, had the word bot in their name. He's like, oh, that's a good bot, it's fine. Was it Bowsette? I mean, I guess if you're taking all the waifus, you're taking Bowsette too. It was as if that tiny fragment was Krisu herself. She held it to her chest and kept crying. Of course you're taking Bowsette.
クリスは安心したと思う。君が無事でよかったって。だから君が謝ることなんてない。謝らなくてもいいんだ。
I'm just imagining now that that as soon as any girl turns 18, it's like Harry Potter. She gets like the magical letter from the Cauldron ladies inviting her to come and join them now. Instead, a phone started to vibrate. Maho took out her cell phone and looked at the message she received.
レスキネン教授からだわ。
どうした？
荒らされたって。お オフィスと、あとホテルの部屋、教授と私のひどいことになってるって。
そうか。
Whether it was the Rounders, the Russians, or whoever else had first surrounded the cosplay shop, they must have been after Chrissy's laptop and hard drive. Are there exceptions to that? Like, is Betty White and the Queen not invited? Because if you don't invite them, they're going to haunt you for the next 100 years, because that's how long they're going to live.
それならこれでよかったんだ。クリスの残したものが何十億もの人を殺す道具として使われることはなくなったんだから。
You need sugar mommies. In the end, I got what I wanted. The data was destroyed before anyone got their hands on it. No Karens. I'm curious to see the data in, like, I don't know, like 5 or 10 years. Maybe even a bit more than that, just to see how hard Karen falls off the list of names. Karen and Chad. There was so little left, I was sure there would be no way to restore it. Like, some names they just fall out of style, and other names they just get memed out of style.
今のところタイムマシン開発競争じゃロシアがリードしてる。
You deserve to lose your child if you name them Chad.
ロシアからすればノート PC を手に入れられればそれでよし。だが他の連中に奪われるぐらいなら壊してしまった方がマシって考えてたんじゃないか。
Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like Karen would be a good name for a cat, because cats are dicks and they meow at you all the time. It's basically a Karen. Chad 1 and 2. It's also pronounced differently. I mean, I'm trying to think. Probably the biggest Canadian celeb is Justin Bieber, and he is basically loved by teenage girls and hated by the rest of Canada. So, yeah. They probably just wanted to avoid a protracted gunfight with the Rounders in broad daylight in Japan. Remember, Karen is Plankton's computer wife. This is true. You disowned him, we know. It's like Celine Dion. We sold Celine Dion to the Americans so she could go live in Vegas. And Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek was originally Canadian. An amateur couldn't do that. Rush is a good one. If you're looking for Canadian musicians, the one I always tell people to look at, because, like, there are some pretty well-known Canadian bands, Rush being one of them. I always tell people to go out and check out Triumph. They are probably, they are the one I recommend people to look at. This is also, yeah, Tim Hortons. This is Canadian. A hockey player who retires and's like, I'm going to spend my money on a donut shop with coffee. There you go. And our Air Force. I'm not a fan of our Air Force. Our Air Force is large. Our Air Force will attack you through clothing. Our Air Force is just mean. Russia might not know about this place, but Moeka might. You don't want to fight still. The geese... I'm talking mosquitoes. Our mosquitoes are horrible. Geese are like the cats of the street. You can be driving your car. There'll be like a goose in the road. First of all, they'll just like stop in the road and look at you. You honk at them, they will honk back at you and try to charge your car. They do not move for you. They do not move for trains. They will hold up a train. Because they don't care. They do what they want. Yeah, I don't get to insult cats like this. At least I didn't say to call the cat a Chad. That's why geese are your spirit animal. It would have been great if Zeus had come back, but I couldn't get in touch with her. Yeah, they hiss at cars. They will charge your car. They don't care. Why is there another shower scene? Got my finger ready to change scenes. Ma was sinking into a warm bathtub. She could finally feel the blood flowing through her body again. The heat melted the tension away from her muscles. I'm the one playing the game. Her injured hand hurt a little, but it wasn't unbearable. She felt like she'd come back to life. Once the sun had set, Maho and Rentaro had gone to Ferris, the cat-eared maid at Mei Queen Yan Tiny raised 2 for help. Ferris's home was at the top of a high-rise condo building on prime Akihabara real estate. From a security perspective, it was superior to the Future Gadget Lab in every imaginable way. Deadbeard, thank you for the host. How are you doing, friend? Why does Deadbeard show up for the shower scenes? Ferris welcomed the 2 of them, offering them food and a place to sleep. You don't know what day of the week it is? And now, she'd even offered them a bath. Ma was a little worried about Itaru Hashida. He'd insisted on staying to wait for his younger sister, Suzuha, and remained alone at the Future Gadget Lab. Was genuinely watching the first anime series. The first Steins Gate anime series is in my top 5, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is phenomenal. More than an hour had passed since then. Had Rentaro heard anything? You're 7 episodes in. So, yeah, you're what's that, like a third of the way in, approximately. Even if they'd moved, that didn't mean this place was safe. The group from this afternoon could attack at any time. She couldn't help but feel nervous. That made her feel terrified and vulnerable as she sat... What? Why does this game have a need to tell me that people are naked? I assume, you know, she's not in the bath, just like in like, I don't know, overalls. She got out of the bathtub and hurried to the changing room to wipe herself down. She tried to put on a change of underwear Ferris had given her. Oh my. Her hands started to shake. Then her knees buckled and she fell to the ground. Why are we losing the game? Gosh dang it, guys. Please do not eat your Chinese burger with your meat shower. She tried to stay calm by analyzing herself, but that didn't mean she could do anything but lie down. Alarm bells were going off in her head. She'd just about given up, knowing that it would pass with time when Ferris popped her head in. Ferris screamed and started to panic when she saw Maho naked and lying on the floor. She's going to die. Geese are like otters and penguins? How are geese like otters and penguins? Maho's voice was so weak that Ferris didn't even hear her. They have non-consensual sex with others of their species. Ferris tried to pick up the naked Moho and then slipped and dropped her. Maho hit the back of her head on the floor. She saw little stars dancing across her field of vision. Why are we telling Chaos to shut up? Sprawling naked on the floor face up, Maho tried to force herself to stand, but her arms were too weak. You're done moderating, this is impossible. Because if Chaos doesn't shut up, he's just gonna look at the 2D girls and say, I also watch people literally in the bathtub! But Ferris wasn't listening. For some reason, she decided to reach around Maho from behind and try to drag her up. And then Rintaro must have heard Ferris' scream because he ran in. Yeah, there we go. Gosh dang it, Chaos. We blamed Chaos 50 times. He wanted to scream, but all that came out was a tiny whimper. You watched Free Guy the other day. I've heard of that. I know basically nothing about it. Taro lowered his head deeply towards Maho as she lay on the bed. Right, yeah. I vaguely remember seeing an ad for it and you just brought it back to me. Still couldn't bear to look him in the face. Just remembering the despair and embarrassment she felt when he saw her naked body made her want to bury her head in a pillow and flail her legs back and forth. To make matters worse, she still hadn't been able to stand up after all that, and Rintaro had been forced to carry her to the bed. She'd never been touched by a boy before. It was only today that she realized how rugged male arms... When did this become porn? Being carried was extremely uncomfortable, to the point where she'd squirmed around and almost slipped out of his arms. This is true, Samus's, but I expect the porn to be something you look at after you've played the game. So she'd had no choice but to curl herself into a ball and let Rintaro do whatever he wanted with her, which made her feel really strange. Deadbeard has banned Chaos. And now, she couldn't even bear to look at his face. They figured they'd rule 34 it themselves. I mean, I guess, let's think of it this way. You create some intellectual property. You know when you put it on the internet, there will be porn of it. So you think to yourself, if I just make the porn of it, I control what porn there is of my stuff. Simple. Ferris was sitting next to Rintaro, feet under her knees, with her shoulders slumped. Speaking of Rule 34... Is there an inverse Rule 34? This is a good question. What if your intellectual property is porn? They can't make porn of it. It is porn. That's all that exists. I'm sure someone someone out there, I'm sure, makes their living as an influencer by just, like, taking porn and hentai and just, like, drawing mundane stuff of, like, the characters after making breakfast, fully clothed. That's all there is. There is such a thing as porn safe for work.
強い緊張が続いていたから、その反動が来ただけ。もう少し休めば回復すると思う。
Its edits have seen in MS Paint to make them appropriate.
心配かけてしまったわね。みっともないわ。
みっともないもんか。今日みたいなことに巻き込まれれば誰だって怖い。具合だって悪くもなる。
あなたでも怖い？
ああ。
そう。今夜はもう休むといいにゃ。
You learn about new stuff every time you're here. Is it stuff you wanted to learn about? That's the real question.
元気になってから考えるといいにゃ。そうね。ええ、そうするわ。ありがとう。
Maho closed her eyes. The lights went out, and Rentaro and Ferris left the room. She lay on the bed and tried not to think about anything. She could hear the pounding of her heart. Deadbeard, thank you for allowing naked porn in my chat. They were fully clothed, no naked parts, and they were pretending to do it with clothes on. It was hilarious. Thank you, Deadbeard, for quoting. Thank you for allowing naked porn in my chat. Anyone have a French fry? No? Actually, there's probably some in, like, the freeze chest over there. Last time Deadbeard was here, he learned that the easiest way to say you're interested in someone is to take them aside and whisper, "Hello, truck friend. How are you doing?" It would get louder and then softer. The rhythm was very strange. See, I always get these reversed. It's probably a chest freezer. I call it a freeze chest. I think what it's supposed to be is a chest freezer is one of the ones that you can, like, lift the lid and, like, go into, whereas a freeze chest is the one at the top or the bottom of a refrigerator. However, I don't think those make sense. To me, the one that's on the ground that you can lift up is more like a treasure chest. So I call that the freeze chest. They're both just freezers. Yeah, I mean, people still call it freezers, but if you're, like, differentiating between, say, you want it in the fridge versus in the basement, then you'd specify. She could hear some kind of static noise mixed in with her heartbeat, like a broken TV. Was it exhaustion-induced tinnitus? Whatever it was, once she noticed it, she couldn't sleep. Instead of thinking about food, think about murder, solving all your problems. She wasn't supposed to do this, but if she looked at their ingredients, she could tell what medications had what effect. Could she take a look and have him lend her some? That wasn't possible. She could at least get some over-the-counter antihistamines to use as a sleep aid. She turned over.
大声を出さないで、言うことを聞いて。さもないと、命はない。
See, murder, solving all the problems. Suddenly, she heard a voice break through the unpleasant noise. Here's her hydrate. She gulped and leaped out of bed. Terror-stricken Maho tried to crawl to the door, but her legs wouldn't move like she wanted to. She couldn't stand up. The voice in her ears followed her wherever she went. It was like a wild animal toying with its prey. All of the hairs on her body were standing up on end. Her jaw was chattering so hard she bit her tongue. She desperately crawled across the carpet towards the door.
一人殺してみせればいい。
Oh, Ella's here? One sec. I've got a tennis ball, you don't. She woke up to find herself being violently shaken by the shoulders. She is a tennis ball. A tennis ball thief. Yeah, this one, I've just had it under the foot that was sore, and I just, like... So, if you didn't know this, first of all, if you have an injury on, like, just basically any part of your body that's a bit hard to get to, your back, your butt, your feet, get a tennis ball or a golf ball, put it on the floor, and you can just roll over top of it. Tennis balls are a bit softer, golf balls are a bit harder, it depends on your personal preference. Yeah. Deadbeard has material, thank you. Canadian man is unreasonable. She looked around the room, panting. She was in bed, and Rintaro was looking down at her. Canadian man is unreasonably proud of his tennis ball. And benevolent, happy armadillo Boshi time. Armadillo, it's Boshi time. But how dare I? Can't wait for Rule 34 to get that. I mean, I don't know what more you want for Rule 34. You've already seen me use, like, just handle a bunch of balls today. Her whole body was sweaty and she felt sick. There was a burning sensation deep in her stomach. It trained her to destroy balls of all types. I don't know what more you want for Rule 34. You've already seen me handle a bunch of balls today. Thank you, Deadbeard. Ella will make a great ally to our cauldron. Ella will be your Cerberus, the cauldron Cerberus. Rintaro looked around. Ferris came a moment later, as well as the older man who was her butler. They were simply standing at the entrance of the room, concerned. Remember, when handling balls, it's polite to say, "Wait, are you inside me?" Gosh dang it, Deadbeard. Squeak hates men. I mean, Cerberus had 3 heads. Maybe you can just have three dogs. Or no, Squeak's a cat, right? Wouldn't does that make her a judgment? I mean, just have... They're familiars. Since you're witches and you have a cauldron, they're your familiars. There you go. The antique clock on the shelf said at some point it had gotten past 1 a.m. Must have slept for hours without realizing it. Hero redeemed stretch? Okay. Why would you bully a dog? Like, why? But hey, tennis ball stretch. Take that. Oh yeah. It's just always a tennis ball. What are you gonna do? One, that's not Popeye. 2, there's no rage emote. If we're getting the emote, it's gonna be the Uncle Killer, first of all. Uncle Hunter, first of all. I haven't quite decided on what that's gonna look like. Because if I'm taking like the source material at face value, it should be like a bloody hatchet or a baseball bat covered in blood. so I don't quite know what that it's gonna look like. It's definitely on my list. I just one, haven't gotten around to it because my artist is currently indisposed, and two, I don't have slots for it. I don't even have slots for what I currently have. Someone please make memes out of him stretching with balls. Did I do the hydrate? I don't remember, so I'll do it again. Yes, the sneeze. She took a painful breath and wiped the sweat off her forehead without realizing that she sounded just a little like a child. Or just like a little child. She sent Ferris and the butler back to their rooms. Also, don't forget when someone sneezes, it's polite to say, "Well, you banned smiling, Deadbeard, so now we have to make girls cry." Rintaro brought her a towel from the washroom.
ひどい汗だ。拭いた方がいい。
She did as he said and wiped the beads of sweat off her face, eyes, and limbs. As she was deciding whether or not to wipe the inside of her pajamas, Rintaro took the hint and turned around.
俺も自分の部屋に戻るから。何かあったら。
Every time I sneeze, smiling gets banned. What gets smiling unbanned?
橋田さんは。
あ、さっき連絡が来たよ。
Inverted sneezing, unsneezing? Isn't that just shooting liquid up your nose?
そう。
I mean, I have one of those things for winter time, because I get... My nose just fills up with crud in the winter, so I've got one of those, it's like a neti pot. I can't remember what it's called, but you tilt your head on the side and the water goes in the one nostril and out the other. I mean, I guess it's like invert and then regular sneeze. It has to be done using the same muscles. You're so close to actually starting school soon? That's awesome. What are you going to school for? And this is a general question. Are schools all in person in Belgium, or is it like online? Like what's happening there? Because here it's mixed. People can choose whether they want to be in person or online. Programming plus your high school degree. Enjoy programming. You will hate yourself. I've been there.
それじゃあ。
Rintaro was about to leave her bedside. Maho, and she couldn't believe she was doing this, reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt without thinking.
お願い。少しだけでいいから。ここに。
It's so much fun when it's not necessary. It's fun when it's not necessary until you're like, I'm going to install like all these things. It doesn't work. Steam's open.
ひやちょうさん。
一人にしないで。
Maho was surprised by the words she was saying. But the thought of spending this terrible night all by herself was too much for her. What do you mean it failed to compile? I didn't change anything. It worked 10 minutes. This happens all the time. I was literally helping a new developer on our team. He was trying to get something set up, and he's like, it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, like, show me what's going on. And he walks through it, and it works perfectly fine. And we're like, huh, I guess it works now. Rintaro must have understood how she felt, because he nodded without smiling.
わかった。眠るまで一緒にいるよ。
Don't trust something as long as it runs 95 times out of 100. See, that's your problem, Chaos. You run it once. If it works all the time. It works 100% of the time. If you run it again, you risk it not working anymore.
ありがとう。わがまま言ってごめんなさい。
I almost never get that problem of, why does this work? This shouldn't work. Windows Vista syndrome.
いや、いいんだ。どうせ俺もなかなか寝つけなかったし。後ろ向いてるから汗だけはちゃんと拭くといい。
ええ。
While Rintaro stared back at the door, she took off her pajamas, wiped off the thick layer of sweat that covered her whole body. Just pray it works when you're setting it up for the clients. Basically, our math was saying you had a case to verify results against, but it wasn't lining up. The solution was always perform a slight manual adjustment at the start. Yeah. Some of the stuff I've seen is ridiculous. I worked with a client, and they were doing a demo for like a big bank. It was a huge deal, and the code worked like we were talking about 90% of the time. The other 10% of the time, it crashed their entire server. So, basically, they went into this presentation knowing there was a 10% chance it would crash their entire server. So, they had one developer whose only job was to look at the logs to see if the server crashed. Another developer who was just like sitting ready to like redeploy it, like finger on the button. And like another developer kind of like sitting there in case someone had to like go do something else and they could take over. And then the people who were presenting it had planned like, oh, if this happens, we're gonna filibuster with this other content for 10 minutes while the server comes back online. Yeah, programming pays exceptionally well. The thing, and I think it's, as as someone who works in it, I think it's fairly good. The biggest issue with programming, aside from hating yourself every day, is probably getting pulled in too deep and it messes up like your work-life balance. I worked a 10-hour day today. I worked a 10-hour day yesterday. That's not uncommon. I've worked like 12, 16-hour days, stuff like that. That kind of stuff can really eat into you and burn you out. So that, I would say that's the biggest thing you have to be careful of. HTML, it's something you're going to need, most likely. Is it right? +7 every value. Don't understand why. You're trying to multiply them in stretch numbers, but adding +7 solves everything. Catching up with chat. Computer science is not your kind of science. Troubleshooting can be a nightmare. So the current issue I'm working on, and we've been working on this for a few days, and the client's not very happy with it, is basically at some points in time the server just crashes because it runs out of memory. And at first we were like, okay, we'll up the memory. It would still crash, and it would just use more memory. And we're like, huh, I guess we should fix the root cause of this rather than just give it more memory. But it's very inconsistent as to what causes this issue. Sometimes we just like click a button and like the whole server dies, and it was like, why? Culinary science, though. Oh, if they help you look for work, that's great. Yeah, inconsistent troubleshooting. If I get a bug that is not reproducible, I'm not fixing it. If you can't show me how to reproduce it, then there's nothing that can be done about it. She tried to put her pajamas on again, but they were too drenched for her to want to wear them. She had no choice but to dive back in under the covers, nothing but her underwear, and bring the comforter way above her eyes.
もういいわ。
Oh, go look for work. Yeah, we don't have that here in Canada. Our rules are pretty lax, actually. I think it's 6 weeks after you lose your job. You don't have to prove anything, I guess, other than when you last had a job and that you don't currently have a job, and you can get unemployment. Amidst the dim glow of the night light, Rentaro brought a chair to the side of the bed and sat down.
ここで見張ってるから
Yeah, here it's not that bad.
安心だろ
And like you have people who of course don't like that like, oh, you know, like slackers are getting free money kind of deal. And then you have at the other end people who we tried Canada tried doing like a, what do they call it, a guaranteed income, like a minimum income, universal income, is that the word for it? I can't remember the exact term for it. But basically they just give everyone whatever it was, $1,000 a month or something, regardless of how much money you're actually earning. And the idea is that in this way there's no paperwork, there's no hoops to jump through. The downside to that is then like people are like, oh well, then the rich people get money and they don't deserve it. Yeah, I know they did like a trial run of that in like a city or something, a small city, and it showed positive results. It'll just be when we get a government that would be willing to implement it. I think it will happen at some point. But yeah, Canada's actually, we just triggered a federal election as of Monday night, I think it was. So we don't have a government until, I think it's September 22nd.
大丈夫。
Maho's face felt hot from some feeling that she didn't understand. She sank deeper under the blanket and turned away from Rentaro. She softly closed her eyes. She could feel his presence behind her. The two of them stopped talking, and the only noise was the distant sounds of night coming from beyond the curtain. How long did they spend like that? Just as she was about to fall into a light sleep, she heard a soft voice in her ears.
ヒヤジョンさんまだ起きてるか
You haven't had a government since 5 months? How long is this like election process? For Canada at least, I don't know how far in the future you can place an election there, but if there's like a maximum limit, but there's a minimum limit, and that's what we hit this time. I think it's 40 days. You don't need a government. What you need is a parental figure who's willing to say, "Hello, truck friend. How are you doing?" Canadian politics is based off of time travel. She felt herself waking up again. Parties are just blocking each other from forming one? How does that work? So, in Canada, how that would work would be you have the election. Let's say it's a close call. Let's say it's a couple hundred votes. And I first of all, I guess this comes down to is how does your government work? So Canada uses what's called first past the post, which basically means each province in Canada is divided into a number of ridings. Each riding votes for their own party member. Whoever gets the majority, and it doesn't have to be past 50%. Whoever gets the majority wins that riding. Whoever wins the most number of ridings makes the government. Okay, so it sounds like, from what I understand, you guys have a minority government that's in deadlock. Basically, you need a majority vote, you have a minority government, and none of the other parties are willing to make a coalition government to help pass anything through. Oh, and then the Prime Minister got impeached. Your government's work? Yes, okay, I understand how your government's work. We would still call that a government. It would not be a very effective government. So currently, until, what was this? Before Monday, we had a minority government, but it had a coalition government that was basically passing stuff through. So we were fine. What's happening right now in Canada is the current minority government feels like they could get a majority government, and that's why they called an early election. For the racist parties. I see. I understand. Your government just wins an election and instantly swaps the prime minister. Yeah, I think there's like a cool off time from the election of like, so that the government can say finish off anything that they were doing. And if you're like an evil government, that's the time when you're like, oh, we're gonna, elect all the federal judges and make them our party since we're not gonna be in power anymore. There's like 40 people running for California governor. You've had 4 prime ministers during one term in office. Yeah, Canada, I think the most we've had is 2 during one term, where someone, I think they stepped down as party leader, and there was an interim leader only for a couple months before the election was called. And none of them were good, of course. She opened her eyes and turned her back to Rintaro, only to see him staring towards the window, as if he was trying to seize some sight that lay beyond it. His profile is so handsome. For some reason, that was a thought that came to her. Not an intern leader, interim. Like, in between the one leader stepping down and the next election. Bill Clinton likes this. Gosh dang it, Deadbeard. Rintaro seemed unwilling to talk, so Moho decided to speak first. He swallowed loudly. Some of the cans are literally like John Retail. So, how long ago was this? About 5 years ago, I was, as part of my work, we were working on a website for the U.S. government. Not like directly for the U.S. government, but for the election. And the gist of it was you could put in your postal code or your address, and it would find on a map of the U.S., okay, you're in such and such a riding, which means you can vote for this person for governor, this person for whatever, I don't know, state judge, whatever it was. The US has some weird stuff. Like, you can vote for your regional sanitation worker. Who cares? You go to the ballot box, who do you think has spent any time looking up who's going to be the best plumber for your city? I guarantee you no one has done it. And yet, that's something you can vote for. Votes me for state dog catcher? Joke's on you. Canada doesn't have states, we have provinces.
何のこと？
俺は
Joke's on me.
一つ
You
だ
don't
け
have dogs, you have spiders.
一つだけ。
君に重大なことを隠している。
The plumber is going to be called Mario. And the information you can find on these people. So on these like websites, like you can see, okay, here's the name of the plumber, or the whatever it was, regional high like sanitation, whatever the title was, something about like sanitation for the region. You can look at his website. Here's his email. Here's his phone number. Here's the church he goes to, you know, in case you just want to stalk him. How many dogs does he have? What are their names? This is important information for the voting public. Someone out there is voting for their candidates based on who has the most dogs and what their names are. Why is this information required for the election? I don't know, but you can find it in the US. Also, Angeline, no last name, entertainer. If you're dealing with feces, you wouldn't want to be sober. That's the real reason Canada legalized marijuana, is so our sanitation workers can be high. They deserve it after a long day. Maho leaned forward, not caring that he might see her chest. I mean, eyes.
さっき話したよな。別の世界線のことや、そこで出会ったクリスのこと、タイムマシン。
Yeah, Belgium is weird like that. So, I don't know how long ago. I was in Amsterdam. I don't know how long ago this was. Like 9 or 10 years ago at this point, something like that. We're checking into the hotel, and just, you know, going out to the balcony just to like have a look around, because it had like a balcony with like a couple of those like chairs you can sit around, and just like at the foot of the chairs there's just like 20 blunts or something. Like, yep, this is Amsterdam. But you're illegally allowed to own a plant per person. In Canada, it's... Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was... It was just the... I was thinking weed, and that was the story that came up. I have been to Belgium as well. What did we do? We did Ghent, Brussels, Antwerp. That's the three major ones, kind of in the center, right? Yeah, this was on the same trip. We did kind of like a Northern Europe trip. I think it was France, Northern France, Belgium, Luxembourg. What else? Netherlands. I feel like I'm missing one. Was Switzerland a part of that? I can't remember. It was a while ago. You can have Brussels.
ええ。
クリスとその父親のことも、
ええ。
あの時本当はもう一つ
Got a hat?
言わなきゃいけないことがあったんだ。でもどうしても言い出せなかった。
So here, I love the look of Europe. I'll be honest, I feel like after a while the cities kind of all just like blend together in my head, if I'm being honest. I love the look of European-style cities. Just the... They don't look like steel and concrete girders, which is which is what I think of as cities in North America. If you're in North America and you're traveling to Canada, check out Quebec City. It is North America's only walled city, and it looks like you're in Europe. His head was slumping forward in the chair. Maho waited silently for his next words. Despite the late hour, she heard a helicopter in the distance. For some reason, it sounded really loud. She hadn't seen the news, but it was possible that the media was still talking about the gun battle that had taken place this afternoon. So, for Canada, here is my advice to people. If you're coming to Canada, most of our cities are quite boring. Quebec City is probably the exception. If you're coming to Canada, like, you're basically coming to try food. Canada, because we have like a very open immigration policy, we have a very diverse population, which means we have a lot of different foods. And like from where my office used to be, because our lease agreement ran out, from within 5 meters you could probably get like 20 different cuisines. Like, it was amazing. The other reason to come to Canada is because you love hiking. And if you're doing that, you check out the Rocky Mountains. It has amazing hiking trails, and around Vancouver. Vancouver has a lot of good hiking trails as well. But the rest of Canada, it's like, it's nothing special. If you're, I guess, like, you know, looking for a small coastal town, you're probably better, honestly, to just like go to the States and then go to like New York or somewhere else. That's much more interesting. When he finally spoke, his expression was unlike any look she'd ever seen on his face before. He was pained, sad, and suffering, like someone at the bottom of a deep, dark place. Yet there was something in his eyes that hinted at incredible self-hatred and rage.
Okabe-san.
Yes, it is 3 a.m. Go to bed. Suddenly, her eyes felt like it was about to burst from pain. She didn't know where the pain was coming from, but she wanted Rintaro to stop looking like that. Yeah, Mel can go to bed as well. He should. I mean, we're probably going to finish stream once this conversation is done. Yes, it's late. It's only, what, like 10 a.m. for you? His hands were forming some kind of shape. Like he was holding an invisible knife. 11 a.m. There we go. 24-hour stream to make up for no stream once. No, Samus. I have to work. I enjoy my sleep. She screamed, unable to take it anymore. She rolled out of bed, forgetting how she was dressed, and covered Rintaro's hands with her own. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 60 seconds? 6-hour stream? But Samus, aren't you also wanting to go to bed? Bon Jovi would say we're halfway there. You're very invested in the first case of the Great Eastern. That's on my list. I need to play it at some point. But my fiance and I have agreed not to spoil it until we can play it together. She strengthened her grip and forced him to let go of the invisible knife. But invisible murder is the best kind of murder. Rintaro nodded without saying another word. They simply stared at each other for a while. Maho couldn't look away from his gaze. It was as if he was clinging to something, or wandering in search of salvation. Well, I will steal her to play video games, Candy. She sneezed. Dang it. Maho sneezed. Smiling's not allowed anymore.
風邪ひくぞ。
Calling her Malcolm and feeding her gravel? Thank you for banning smiling, Deadbeard. We have to reverse sneeze. Is that what a reverse sneeze looks like to you? Because that felt awful. I never want to do it again. It was only then that she realized that she was holding Rintaro's hands while wearing next to nothing. Rintaro looked a little embarrassed. She quickly jumped back in the blankets. She curled up into a ball and tore at her hair, screaming inside her mind. She'd let a boy see her naked, not once, but twice. I think Unfair likes being texted. Samus has banned fairness. Deadbeard has banned Samus's.
でもさっきの話はこの場限りにしていい？いい？
Samus has banned Beardy. Alright, have a good night, Candy.
ありがとう。ヒヤジョーさん。
お礼なんて言われる筋合いはないわ。それじゃあおやすみなさい。
おやすみ。
See, even the character.
Suspicious.
An anonymous gifter has gifted a tier 1 sub to Samus's.
Suspicious.
Wait, Panic has gifted a sub to Fake Beardy. Panic! What are you... Panic, you can't scold the anonymous gifter and then make a gift yourself. No hype trains. No hype trains. Can't scold... Deadbeard, I know you've done this before, where you use the anonymous gifter to become the third person for a hype train. Don't do it. The room got quiet again. The adrenaline rush kept Maho awake. After a while, she heard snores coming from Rintaro's direction.
Suspicious.
Deadbeard has gifted a sub to Beardy and started the hype train. I like you, for all of you to notice that when the hype train goes by, the custom emote for it is just a bunch of scolds, because that's exactly what you deserve. Yeah, Samus, that came in within the past month, I would say. I mean, it encourages people to gift or to give bits, which of course means Twitch gets a bigger cut. So, of course, it's in their favor to do so. You're getting what you deserve, are you? Evidently, he'd fallen asleep. He must have been tired. He went through the same attack that Maho had. Of course he was. His breathing wasn't peaceful at all. It was pained. He may have been in the grip of some terrible nightmare. Maho hesitated several times, but finally she turned over and stretched out her hand from the blankets. What's a hype train? Mel, a hype
Suspicious.
Deadbeard, stop gifting subs to Candy. A hype train is basically...
Suspicious.
Guys, stop that. A hype train is when your community is too good and gives you too much money or sub. So a sub train, not a sub train, a hype train, unless the streamer has changed, it happens if you get 3 of the following within a span of, I think it's 5 minutes. A sub, a gift sub, and a bits of 100 or more. That has to be by 3 or more different people.
Suspicious.
What the nuts is going on? Show love -1. Who is that? Samus's. Thank you, Samus's. My scrolling's broken for trying to take money away. Panic. Stop with the 69s.
Suspicious.
Deadbeard, stop gifting subs to Mel. Deadbeard, stop gifting subs to Interruption Show. Thank you for calling them suspicious.
Suspicious.
Panic 31 more bit. Stop. Deadbeard's gifted sub to Rule 34 is my life. Wait, are we at level 3? Guys, are we at level 3? Stop that.
Suspicious.
It's not suspicious, Uncle. What? Why is suspicious Uncle here? But by people, I meant the people in my chat. Yes, thank you for more suspicious. Gosh dang it, guys. She softly touched the backside of his hand. She felt its warmth on her fingertips.
クリスはあなたのことを
You guys are
なんて
crazy.
呼んでいたのかしら。
Deadbeard, didn't you just, like, spend money on, like, a car and, like, a computer and every piece of technology in your house?
Suspicious.
Panic has gifted a sub to Aunt Weirdo. Samus has gifted a sub to Goboblin.
Suspicious.
Thanks, Samus. I thought you just said you didn't have money. Stop gifting subs to Uncle. Are we level 4? I see the hype thing going across. There's more scolds. Hello, how are you doing? My chat is being financially irresponsible right now.
岡部さん。それとも
Yes, I can't remember what the default hype train banner is. I think it's just like the cheering dude. But I was like, no. Panic has redeemed a trick. Okay, you get a hype train juggle. Well, the characters in game are. You just want a hype train juggle so I can't read chat and hear what you guys are doing. I know your games, guys. What was I saying? You just want a juggle so. Well, the characters in our game... Oh, I should move the camera up a bit. Oh, no, it's fun. I can replace one of the balls with the tennis ball. Take that. Take that, dogs. You can't have this tennis ball. It's mine. Mine, see? Oh, you want it? Nope, it's mine. I wonder if I can... I feel like this tennis ball is going to be bouncier. I'm going to try a next doll with it. I get the distinct feeling it's going to bounce off my head and just, like, roll somewhere in the basement. But we're going to try
Suspicious.
it. Oh, it actually wasn't too bad. It just rolled straight down my spine because, like, these ones, I love hacky sacks for it because they're dead weight.
Suspicious.
Where is that? Boom. This one, not dead weight. This has been physics with Popeye. And if you don't have hacky sacks, you can make your own by taking balloons, not blowing them up, fill a balloon with a bit of sand, and then tie the end off and cut it, and then put a second balloon back over the other way to help keep the sand in. I've never tried it myself, but I've heard it. I've heard people say it's alright. Actually, know what this one would be good for? Contact juggling. Not that I'm any good at contact juggling, but if you've never heard of contact juggling, Google it. It looks like magic.
Suspicious.
It looks like things are just floating in the air. What I just did there is a very bad basic one. I think they just call it like the windshield wiper or something. But experts can make it look like the ball is not moving at all, and it's just kind of floating there. There we go. Level 4 was at 10% before. I know you guys have done stuff. What is gone? Oh gosh, I have to scroll. Okay. Sexy Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's a real person? I just thought that was me. A tennis ball head? Bob with the bits. Nice, be nice to Doggo. Physics crazy. Guys. That was not 5 minutes. It's 1 minute.
Suspicious.
If you look at the redeem, it is 1 minute for the chuckle. Wait. Stammus's. Why are we at level 5? Guys. I'm scrolling up through chat to see what I missed now. See, Hero has Ella bits. That's how you were supposed to do it. Why am I so mean to Ella? It's not just Ella. I'm mean to all dogs when I have a tennis ball. Love physics with Popeye. Okay. When I worked at a summer camp, we would have just what do you call it? Just like campfire stuff, and people would volunteer to just like run skits or like sing songs or whatever. My personal favorite skit that requires absolutely no effort on your part was called Gravity Check. So the purpose of Gravity Check is you just want to check and make sure gravity's still working. Because, you know, sometimes gravity just stops working, you float off into space, no one wants that. So all Gravity Check was the guy would yell Gravity Check and just like hurl something into the water and be like, gravity still works. And each time you just get something bigger. So like you'd start with, you know, like a stone or something, then you get a giant log, and then you just like jump into the lake yourself. And like, gravity still works. I do not hate Ella. Also, her name is Oreo because I named her that when you gave me that. Guys, why are we level 5? Purchase declined. Deadbeard. Really? Stop that. Yes, why are we at level 5? Hero, stop that. Yes, don't sub the bots. Thank you for the 1,000 scold bits. That's how it works. 10,000 Ella, 100,000 multi-dark emotion. Gosh dang it! Be responsible with your money. You've seen the decline of... Guys. She didn't know, but it didn't matter.
しっかりしなさい。岡部倫太郎。この私が好きになった人はそんなに弱い男だったわけ?
You tried to think about how Chrissy would say those words, and eventually Rentaro's breathing started to become more peaceful. Relieved, she let go, and then changed her mind and grabbed the hem of his shirt again. If her name is Oreo, where's the puppy child support? Yay, hugs in chat for everyone. She felt embarrassed as if she was a little kid, but at the same time, she felt like now she might not have any more nightmares. That night, for the first time in a very long while, she dreamed of a smiling Krisu. And that seems like the good place to stop. It also... Guys, near your ridiculous hype train. Why have you done this? Thank you, everyone. But seriously, don't do it. And Beardy, don't do it until your card gets declined. I can see you sent a message. I'm taking a look at it. There is no hype train? Are you going to start a chant for there is no hype train? Are chants something that's on everyone's channel now? I've seen them. I don't actually really know how they work, to be entirely honest. I just see chants for dumb stuff and chant along with people. Guys, that's not gonna work. You can't just tell me there's no hype train. Actually, can I look and see at this? Deadbeard has contributed 11 subs. Deadbeard, why? Plus you had the anonymous one. So you're really at 12 subs. Why? I mean... there is no hype train. What are these choo-choos, my friends? It's a Twitch with the irony. What does it give me? It gives me the dog. You see this? You see this dog emote? I've got the tennis ball still. That was a different Deadbeard. But yes, that is where we are going to call it.